Chapter 806. Lei Xiao had also recognized Li Changsheng. After a brief moment of shock, he sneered. So, it's you. What a coincidence. How much is this furnace? I'll buy it. The old man's face showed some hesitation. This little brother has already paid. So what if he has paid? You haven't given him the crafting furnace yet, right? As he spoke, he looked at Li Changsheng arrogantly. Kid, I didn't expect you to be so rich. Get lost now. I've taken a liking to this furnace. Lei Xiao's words were arrogant, and many people in the crowd were dissatisfied. This guy is too arrogant. He has already paid, and yet he interfered. Yeah, he's going too far. Hearing the words of the crowd, Lei Xiao's eyes widened. What are you talking about? Shut up if you don't want to die. As soon as he finished his words, lightning flashed all over his body. A terrifying aura was released from his body. Many people had a drastic change in expression. He's from the Kuei cow race. Could he be Lei Xiao, an itinerant cultivator? This guy is famous for his insolence. Shut up. This Lei Xiao is not to be trifled with. Looking at the fearful eyes of the crowd, Lei Xiao was pleased. He reached out his hand to grab the furnace, but Li Changsheng pulled it away. I've already bought it. You're too late. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Lei Xiao was stunned. He didn't expect Li Changsheng to defy him. Kid, what did you say? I didn't hear you clearly. Say it again. I'm still holding a grudge against you for what happened at sea. Don't provoke me. After Li Changsheng's words, not only Lei Xiao, but everyone in the crowd was dumbfounded. Lei Xiao was crazy. He was even crazier than Lei Xiao. Elder Bai Cha, is there something wrong with this guy's head? Why did he provoke Lei Xiao? Gu Qingyu asked softly. Bai Cha didn't answer. He only looked at Lei Xiao with pity. Of all people to provoke, he had to provoke this malefic. Wasn't he courting death? You're courting death. Lei Xiao wasn't a kind person. At this moment, his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Elder Bai Cha, aren't you going to help him? When Gu Qingyu heard that Bai Cha wanted to bring Li Changsheng to see her father, she thought that Li Changsheng was Bai Cha's friend. She couldn't help but ask. No need. Bai Cha shook his head. At this moment, Lei Xiao couldn't help but raise his finger towards Li Changsheng. The Kuei Ox clan was an ancient mythical beast. They had the innate ability to control thunder and lightning. Their temperament was also relatively irritable. Moreover, in his eyes, Li Changsheng was just an ant that he could casually crush. He had always been coveting the spirit stones in Li Changsheng's hands. Now that he finally had an excuse, he could not wait any longer. However, Li Changsheng did not care about Lei Xiao's attack at all. In the next second, a black figure appeared in front of Li Changsheng and blocked Lei Xiao's attack. Even though Lei Xiao did not use even a tenth of his strength, he was still shocked that his attack was easily blocked by the other party. The one who made the move was naturally the giant bone snake king. How dare you show killing intent towards my master? Kneel down and apologize to my master immediately. Otherwise, I will kill you. The giant bone snake king said coldly. As a demon king, he was definitely not a kind person. Hee, what did you say? Lei Xiao was so angry that he laughed. What happened today? First, it was a reckless young man who dared to speak arrogantly to me. Then, his follower dared to ask me to kneel down. Lei Xiao had the bloodline of a mythical beast and had just broken through to the next realm. How could he endure such provocation? How dare he make me kneel down? Then I will kill you first. After that, I will slowly deal with your master. After Lei Xiao finished speaking, he attacked again. A ray of lightning condensed into a chain and went straight for the giant bone snake king's head. The surrounding people hurriedly retreated, afraid that they would be affected by the battle. At the same time, many people rushed over. It was human nature to watch a show. Especially when they heard that the Kuei Ox clan's Lei Xiao had made a move, it made many people excited. Lei Xiao was a very famous existence among the row cultivators. Lei Xiao waved his hand, and the lightning turned into a chain and went straight for the giant bone snake king's chest. Lei Xiao had the bloodline of the Kuei Ox clan and could control the lightning. Furthermore, the lightning was an existence of extreme yang and was extremely powerful. However, the giant bone snake king didn't move. When facing the flying chain, he simply lifted his palm and formed a black shield with a lump of black mist. Bang! The chain condensed from lightning hit the shield and made a dull sound. However, it wasn't able to break the shield's defense. His attack was completely blocked. Lei Xiao revealed a surprised expression. His chain condensed from lightning was extremely powerful. An ordinary Vajra realm martial expert wouldn't be able to block it. Even a finger mystic realm martial expert wouldn't be able to block it easily. However, the giant bone snake king actually blocked it effortlessly. His expression turned gloomy. He knew that the giant bone snake king's strength wasn't ordinary, but this didn't make him stop. Instead, his aura presence surged, and an even sharper killing intent spread out. Li Changsheng's follower is probably in danger. Gu Qingyu said worriedly. Li Changsheng and Bai Cha were walking together. She saw them as one of her own. The Kuei-Ox clan had a violent temper and didn't get along well with the Three Immortal Island. As the daughter of the Penglai Island's island lord, she had heard many stories about the Kuei-Ox clan. She might not have a good impression of Lei Xiao, but he was definitely powerful. Li Changsheng stood there with his hands behind his back. He was the clearest about the giant bone snake king's strength and wasn't worried at all. At this moment, Lei Xiao launched another attack. His hair fluttered while his hands formed a giant lightning ball. As he pushed with his hand, the lightning in the lightning ball looked like dancing silver snakes and struck down at the giant bone snake king. At the same time, the sky was covered with dark clouds. Lightning was wreaking havoc in the clouds. Under the guidance of the lightning ball, the bucket-sized lightning struck down at the giant bone snake king's head. Many people on the scene quickly distanced themselves. The lightning was too powerful, and they might be killed if they weren't careful. Bai Cha was also surprised. He didn't expect Lei Xiao's control of lightning to be able to trigger a celestial phenomenon. Kid, let's see how you're going to block this. Lei Xiao laughed maniacally. He made use of the lightning ball in his hand to trigger a celestial phenomenon. This was the strongest attack he had comprehended after breaking through to the finger profound realm. He used his heart to replace the heart of the heavens and borrowed the power of heaven and earth to fight against the enemy. The original attack power would be amplified many times. Rumble, thunder rumbled. However, the complacent look on Lei Xiao's face soon froze. His strongest attack was easily blocked by a black fog after it landed on the giant bone snake king. It was even absorbed. How can this be? His eyes were filled with disbelief. Not to mention him, even Li Changsheng had a look of surprise in his eyes. The lightning was of the utmost yang attribute. The giant bone snake king could easily block it. This was very unusual. Chapter 807. What Li Changsheng didn't know was that the giant bone snake king was an ancient soaring serpent whose consciousness was reborn from its bones. It could only be reborn by borrowing the power of the thunder of heaven and earth. To him, although thunder was not a rule that he was good at controlling, it was as close to him as his second parent. Since it came from thunder, it naturally wouldn't be afraid of thunder, just like how fish wouldn't be afraid of water. After taking Lei Xiao's attack, the giant bone snake king finally made its move. The black mist in front of him surged and turned into a huge python. It opened its mouth and spewed out blood. A gust of wind blew, making people feel like they were in hell. The black snake roared. When Lei Xiao reacted, it was too late to dodge. He could only raise his hand and slap the round thunderball into the python's belly. Bang, 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 bang. The thunderball was the embodiment of Lei Xiao's control of the power of laws. At that moment, it exploded, and the huge python formed by the fog was blown into clouds of black fog. However, the remaining part of the tail that was not blown apart escaped the net and hit Lei Xiao's body. In an instant, Lei Xiao's chest was filled with a large amount of black mist. It was as if there were countless little bugs trying to drill into his skin. Lei Xiao's face suddenly showed a painful expression. He quickly turned his hand into thunder and slapped his chest. Crackle! The black mist was blown away by the thunder. At the same time, a bloody mist was blown out from his chest. His body swayed, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This black-robed man is very strong. Lei Xiao actually didn't have the upper hand. Gu Qingyu muttered to herself. The surrounding spectators were also shocked. Lei Xiao was from the Kuei Cow clan. He had the bloodline of a divine beast. He was born with the ability to control thunder and lightning. He was unrivaled in the sea region. Not long ago, he had broken through to the Finger Profound realm. His battle prowess had skyrocketed, and he could be called a supergiant. Who would have thought that such an expert would be unable to hurt his opponent after a few moves? Instead, he had almost made himself vomit blood. Take another move, the giant bone snake king said coldly. He turned into a black shadow and rushed into the sky. A black spear appeared in his hand, and he stabbed at Lei Xiao. Black mist lingered above the long spear. The moment it was used, it was already earth-shattering. Its imposing aura made everyone unable to breathe. Lei Xiao, who was in the middle of the storm, had a drastic change in his expression. A huge sense of danger rose in his heart. This time, he did not dare to take it head-on. Instead, he chose to retreat. His body turned into an afterimage as he quickly retreated. Under the giant bone snake king's attack, the place where he was just now had turned into a deep pit. A crack spread out for dozens of meters before disappearing. Wherever it passed, several boulders and trees were turned into dust. Amazing. I'm afraid he has reached the late stage of the Finger Profound realm. Gu Qingyu stuck out her tongue. She didn't expect that a follower of Li Changsheng would be so powerful. Lei Xiao's face was filled with lingering fear. If he had not dodged in time, he would have been severely injured, if not killed. Originally, he thought that bullying Li Changsheng was just like stepping on an ant. Who would have thought that this ant's subordinate was actually a giant that was stronger than him? Just as Lei Xiao was shocked, the giant bone snake king had already rushed up again. The long spear in its hand danced like a gust of wind sweeping away fallen leaves. Any obstacles were turned into dust. Boom, 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 boom. Cracks appeared under the feet of the giant bone snake king, and countless tall trees were reduced to sawdust. Finally, a tornado was formed under the influence of the spear, and it whistled as it smashed down on Lei Xiao's head. You've gone too far. Lei Xiao actually had the intention to retreat. However, seeing that the giant bone snake king had no intention of stopping, his face was filled with anger. Lightning lingered around his body and finally formed a silver armor. Lightning armor. Many people recognized the move that Lei Xiao used. This was considered the one-legged cow clan's innate ability. Every one-legged cow clan member could comprehend it. Moreover, it was very powerful and had extremely high defense. At the same time, lightning flashed in Lei Xiao's hand and condensed into a lightning blade. He held it horizontally in front of him and welcomed the descending black long spear. The one-legged cow clan was born with lightning. They were born to control lightning. At this moment, Lei Xiao was clearly risking his life and using all of his trump cards. Open for me, Lei Xiao roared. Not only on his body, but in the sky, there were also bolts of lightning that came crashing down like waterfalls. They had the power of tens of thousands of kilograms. This kind of power was terrifying. Is Lei Xiao finally going to use his true strength? Many people stared at the field. This kind of lightning power was simply too terrifying. They were afraid that it could flatten a small mountain in an instant. The black long spear and Lei Xiao's lightning blade finally collided. Boom! At this moment, the treasure blade in Lei Xiao's hand was torn apart. The black spear smashed on the silver armor, and the silver armor turned into nothingness in a series of changes. The lightning waterfall that came crashing down from the sky smashed on the giant bone snake king's body, and finally, the giant bone snake king's body shook. Lei Xiao spat out a big mouthful of blood and became dispirited. Obviously, Lei Xiao had lost this confrontation. Sir, don't go too far. Otherwise, if I go all out, you won't have it easy. Seeing that the giant bone snake king had the intention to attack again, Lei Xiao's voice was stern. However, the surrounding people could hear his guilty conscience. He was obviously afraid. Lei Xiao was known for his bad temper, but his words were clearly showing signs of giving in. The surrounding people were also surprised. Lei Xiao was famous, but they didn't expect that he would be defeated so easily by the giant Bone Snake King. Sir, at this moment, the giant Bone Snake King looked at Li Changsheng with a questioning gaze. According to his temper, he would naturally be unreasonable and directly kill Lei Xiao. However, in front of Li Changsheng, he didn't dare to make a decision. Everyone followed Lei Xiao's gaze and finally fixed on Li Changsheng. Who is he? Why is the black-robed expert asking for his opinion? Everyone's mind was full of questions because Li Changsheng looked too ordinary. He didn't look like an expert at all. Kill him. Don't hold back, Li Changsheng said lightly. His voice wasn't loud, but everyone who heard him changed their expression. In the next second, the giant Bone Snake King attacked without hesitation. This time, the power of the black spear was even more terrifying. It was obvious that he didn't hold back in the previous attack. Now he was going all out. Lei Xiao's expression changed drastically, and then he was furious. After the surrounding void shook, he revealed his original form, a one-legged divine bull. He opened his mouth and let out a thunderous roar. Bolts of lightning rushed from the sky, from his body, and from all directions toward the giant Bone Snake King. As expected of the descendant of an ancient divine beast, his strength was really terrifying. In the next second, the giant Bone Snake King suddenly turned into a bone snake that was thousands of feet long. No matter how the lightning struck his body, it couldn't stop him. In the end, he collided with the Kuei cow. Bang! With a loud bang, Lei Xiao's body was directly sent flying. The giant Bone Snake King returned to his human form and spat out a mouthful of blood. It was obvious that the collision just now had caused him serious injuries. Lei Xiao's injuries were even worse. He fell 100 meters away and smashed a deep hole in the ground. Chapter 808. At this moment, Li Changsheng patted Yellow Ox's head, who was standing behind him. Yellow Ox, go and eat the inner core. It's a great supplement for you. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Yellow Ox's eyes showed some hesitation, and the surrounding people were in an uproar. Everyone could see that this yellow bull had not even reached the level of a demonic beast. Even though Lei Xiao was severely injured and on the verge of death, the power contained in his body was terrifying. Perhaps a mouthful of Lei Xiao's blood would cause this yellow bull to explode. Giant Bone, help him. Yes. Giant Bone Snake King nodded, then led Yellow Ox towards Lei Xiao, who had landed in the distance. What are you doing? Lei Xiao struggled to get up from the ground, but his eyes were filled with fear. No matter how arrogant and domineering he was, when facing death, he was no different from an ordinary creature. My master said that he would make Yellow Ox a peerless demon beast. After swallowing your inner core, he would have the bloodline of the Kuei Ox. Even I am envious. Giant Bone Snake King said eerily. He was telling the truth. Lei Xiao's bloodline was too powerful. If he swallowed it, he would immediately break through to the peak of the Finger Profound realm. But Li Changsheng had decided to give it to Yellow Ox, so he naturally did not dare to disobey. Lei Xiao's inner core belongs to Yellow Ox. You can eat his flesh. At this moment, Li Changsheng's faint voice was heard. Giant Bone Snake King's face lit up with joy. Although the essence of a demonic beast's power was in the inner pellet, Lei Xiao's flesh was also a great supplement for him. Although it couldn't let him directly reach the peak of the Finger Profound realm, it could still let him comprehend the one-legged cow clan's divine ability and let his cultivation advance a step further. Do you really think I'm a fish on a chopping board? Lei Xiao's face was filled with anger. There was a terrifying energy growing in his body. Although he had lost his ability to fight, there was still one last way, which was to reverse his bloodline and self-destruct. When Lei Xiao's aura spread out, everyone was shocked and quickly retreated. A Finger Profound realm demon beast self-destruction was no less powerful than a nuclear explosion. Even Giant Bone Snake King's face was filled with shock. But in the next second, an invisible force descended. Lei Xiao was shocked to find that his body was out of his control. What happened? His gaze suddenly turned in the direction of Li Changsheng. Only he could sense the source of this formless power, which came from Li Changsheng. Who would have thought? Before he could finish speaking, the giant bone snake king had already pierced through his head with its spear. At the same time, the giant bone snake king took out a palm-sized blue core. The giant bone snake king's eyes revealed a bit of heat. As long as he devoured the pure, lightning energy inside, he would be able to reach the peak of the finger-profound realm. However, he quickly took a deep breath and suppressed the impulse in his heart. Since Li Changsheng had said that he would give the inner core to Yellow Ox, how could he dare to disobey? Breaking through to the next realm was naturally a good thing, but the price was death. That was not worth it. The giant bone snake king suppressed the greed in its heart and handed it over to Yellow Ox. Although it was only an inner core, it still exuded a powerful aura. Yellow Ox's eyes were filled with fear, but in the end, it still opened its mouth and bit down. Rumble. At this moment, Yellow Ox's entire body emitted a loud noise. Every hair on its body stood up, with lightning lingering on it. At the same time, Yellow Ox revealed a painful expression and suddenly knelt on the ground. What nonsense! How powerful is the Kuei Ox's inner core? How can it be absorbed by an ordinary Yellow Ox? It seems that this kid doesn't know anything at all. He only wants to improve his mount's strength, but he doesn't even know the most basic common sense. Now, he has harmed Yellow Ox. I don't know if it is lucky or unlucky to follow such a master. At this moment, the giant bone snake king did not care about Yellow Ox. He transformed into his original form and swallowed Lei Zhao's body. Soon, his body was suffused with a blue light. After a while, Lei Zhao's body was completely digested. Lightning flashed in his eyes, and the aura on his body became even more terrifying. Yellow Ox was rolling on the ground in agony, as if it was going to die at any time. Its body had been stained with blood, and its eyes had turned blue. Just when everyone, including Yellow Ox itself, thought that it was going to die, Li Changsheng slowly walked to Yellow Ox. He touched its huge head and helped Yellow Ox to guide the power in its body. Don't worry, you can do it. No one saw that from Li Changsheng's palm, there was a stream of power that was integrated into Yellow Ox's body. Yellow Ox, who was on the verge of death, struggled to stand up. Crackle, crackle. Yellow Ox was completely shrouded in lightning. Its hair began to burn. It let out a shrill cry. From the cry, one could tell how much pain it was suffering. Li Changsheng just stood aside quietly, watching Yellow Ox catch fire. He watched the fire burn its hair and internal organs, turning it into a skeleton. In the end, only its head was left intact. I pity this Yellow Ox. Many people couldn't help but turn their heads to the side. The inner alchemy of a divine beast, Kuei Ox, was too much of a blessing. It was not something an ordinary demonic beast could bear. Just when everyone thought that Yellow Ox had died, people gradually began to notice that something was amiss. Even though Yellow Ox only had its head left and the rest of its body had turned into white bones, it was still standing there without collapsing. What's going on? Many people were puzzled. In the next second, a miracle happened. Flesh and blood began to grow on the bones. First, it was the flesh, then the blood vessels, internal organs, and hair. After half an hour, a brand new Yellow Ox appeared in front of everyone. However, this time, Yellow Ox's forelegs were agile. Lightning flashed in its hair, and its pair of horns were like two machetes. When it stepped on the ground, huge stones were trampled into powder. It actually refined the inner alchemy of Lei Zhao and became a real demonic beast. It has been reborn. Plop! Yellow Ox walked in front of Li Changsheng and knelt down, speaking in human language. Thank you, Master, for giving me a new lease of life. Yellow Ox, which was not even considered a demonic beast, was now extremely powerful. It had reached the peak of the Xiantian realm and was only a step away from the Vajra realm. Not bad. This is your good fortune. I've said that I will make you a peerless great demon. Li Changsheng led Yellow Ox to Bai Cha and the rest. Wherever they passed, everyone automatically made way for them. Their eyes were filled with awe. The strong were respected no matter where they were. Can you give me the furnace now? Li Changsheng stretched out his hand to the old man who sold the furnace. He had already paid the spirit stones. Only then did the old man react. Of course. He hurriedly passed the furnace to Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng, Bai Cha, Zhou Wan, and the rest continued to stroll around. After they left, the news about the battle spread rapidly. Many people were warning their disciples and subordinates not to offend Li Changsheng and the rest. Later, no matter where Li Changsheng went, people would automatically make way for him and look at him with awe. Chapter 809. Mr. Li, the inner core of a Kuei ox is very precious. Don't you feel bad for giving it to your mount? Gu Qingyu asked curiously. Although she was the young mistress of Penglai Island, she did not have the chance to refine the inner core of a finger-profound realm demon. Therefore, she was very envious of Yellow Ox. It's just an inner core, Li Changsheng said casually. Gu Qingyu couldn't help but stick out her tongue. She felt that Li Changsheng's tone was too arrogant. How could the inner core of a finger-profound realm demonic beast be described with the word insignificant? However, when she thought of the scene where Li Changsheng unhesitatingly gave the demonic core to Yellow Ox, her gaze towards Li Changsheng was already somewhat different. May I ask if you are Mr. Li? The real treasures of the Millennia treasure meet are in the core area. This is the invitation. Only with this invitation can you enter. A bald old man walked up to Li Changsheng and respectfully handed the invitation to the Millennia treasure meeting to Li Changsheng. A person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. Even a notorious demon like Lei Xiao was killed by Li Changsheng's subordinates. Now, Li Changsheng's reputation was absolutely outstanding. This old man was the subordinate of the organizer of the Millennia treasure meet. He was also of high status in other places. At this moment, facing Li Changsheng, he was as respectful as he could be. All right, thank you. Li Changsheng kept the invitation. This invitation was a symbol of status. According to the rules, only experts above the Vajra realm were qualified to receive it. Of course, Li Changsheng's qualifications had far exceeded this standard. Mr. Li, you're welcome. I'll take my leave then. The bald old man did not dare to say much, afraid that he would annoy Li Changsheng. He left after delivering the invitation. Since we have the invitation, why don't we go to the core area? Li Changsheng said. Other than the furnace that could be used to refine equipment, there were indeed no good treasures in the outer area. The reason why they had to wait for the people from Penglai Island to arrive was because Penglai Island's invitation card was in the hands of Penglai Island's island master. One invitation card could bring many people in. Therefore, only the sect master of each faction could get one. Li Changsheng had displayed his extraordinary strength on the island, which was why the other party had sent him an additional invitation. All right, Gu Qingyu couldn't wait any longer. After entering the core area, the number of people decreased significantly. Vajra realm martial artists were already considered the strongest group of martial experts in this world. Even if the entire sea region was added up, there wouldn't be many of them. When Li Changsheng and the others came in, they quickly discovered quite a few good things. With Li Changsheng's current wealth, he naturally didn't lack spirit stones. Basically, as long as he took a fancy to something, he would immediately buy it. He had the demeanor of someone who would throw away 1,000 gold coins. Although that stone is a little extraordinary, it is quite troublesome to refine. There are too many impurities in it. This guy actually bought it without even looking at it. What a country bumpkin. I'm afraid that no matter how much wealth his family has, it will all be squandered away. A mocking voice came from afar. There were 2 men and a woman standing there. The one who spoke was the woman. That woman was dressed in red and looked at Li Changsheng with disdain. Xiaoyan, don't talk nonsense. If he is able to enter the core area, it means that his identity isn't simple. You will easily get yourself into trouble. A man at the side, who should be that woman's elder brother, reprimanded her. What's so great about him? Our Eternal Spring Palace has a finger-profound realm martial expert overseeing it. Do we have to be afraid of him? In the entire sea region, other than the three Immortal Island and a few other factions, how many people would dare to provoke our eternal spring palace? The woman had a proud look. At this moment, the moment Li Changsheng raised his head, the other man at the side trembled and exclaimed, "It's actually him. What's wrong with senior brother Feng?" The woman and her elder brother looked at their companion at the same time. "I saw him once when I was wandering outside alone. This person isn't simple. Xiaoyan, you better go over and apologize to him for what you said just now." Hearing senior brother Feng's words, the woman called Xiaoyan couldn't help but pout. "Senior brother Feng, what's so great about him? Is he worthy of me going over to apologize? Are you kidding me?" Senior brother Feng laughed bitterly. "Junior sister Xiaoyan, you don't know. I don't know much about that youth's strength, but that black-robed follower beside him is incredible. He's a finger-profound realm martial artist. So what? It's not like our eternal spring palace doesn't have a finger-profound realm martial artist. There's no need to be afraid of him." Although the woman called Xiaoyan said this stubbornly, in reality, her face was already somewhat moved. A finger-profound realm martial artist was a top expert in the world. Their eternal spring palace only had two of them overseeing it. If she offended a finger-profound realm martial artist outside and returned to the sect, and the elders found out, she would also be punished. It was only because of her face that she refused to admit it. If it's just a normal finger-profound realm martial artist, then it's nothing. Not long ago, he had a fight with the Kuei Cow clan's Lei Xiao. It was a fierce fight. So there was a fight between finger-profound realm martial artists. I was wondering why I felt such a strong energy fluctuation outside. But who won in the end? The woman called Xiaoyan looked at senior brother Feng, waiting for his answer. The man beside her also pricked up his ears. In the end, Lei Xiao used his trump card but still couldn't defeat the other party. Instead, he was killed on the spot. His inner core was taken out and fed to the yellow cow beside him, and his body was swallowed by the black-robed man. That black-robed man should be a member of the demon clan. After senior brother Feng finished speaking, he still had a face of lingering fear when he thought of the scene at that time. The woman beside him and her brother were all dumbfounded. They had long heard of Lei Zhao's great name. He was an extremely powerful existence among the loose cultivators. Before breaking through to the finger-profound realm, he could move unhindered in the sea region for thousands of miles. It was said that he broke through to the finger-profound realm some time ago. Even the Eternal Spring Palace's headmaster repeatedly warned his disciples not to provoke Lei Xiao when they were outside. Now, he was actually killed, casually feeding a beast core to a mount. Isn't this a bit too extravagant? The man also sighed. That's why, Xiaoyan, you better go over and apologize to him. If he can even kill Lei Xiao, although our Eternal Spring Palace has two finger-profound realm cultivators, he might not even take us seriously. Moreover, our sect's elders invited us to the Myriad Treasure Convention to broaden our horizons, but we provoked such a strong enemy for our sect. What if the other party has some other background? We've brought disaster to our sect. At this point, Xiaoyan's expression finally changed. She had no choice but to put down her pride and walk up to Li Changsheng. She bowed respectfully and said, "Mister, I don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. I've offended you with my words just now. Please don't take offense." With Li Changsheng's hearing, he naturally heard the woman's sarcasm. However, he wouldn't care about such a small matter. Therefore, he nodded and said, "It's good that you know your mistake." After saying that, he walked to the side with Bai Cha and the rest. Xiaoyan originally prepared a lot of excuses, but at this moment, she was stunned on the spot and couldn't say a word. Li Changsheng didn't give her a chance to speak at all. After Li Changsheng and the rest left, many people in the core area had strange looks on their faces. Naturally, they knew that Xiaoyan was from the Eternal Spring Palace. However, they didn't expect that the other party would be so indifferent when the Eternal Spring Palace's disciples personally went over to apologize. Who is he? Why haven't I heard of him before? The black-robed man beside him looks very similar to a big shot I know before. Chapter 8:10. Excuse me, are you Mr. Li? My master invites you over to meet him." An emotionless voice rang out. A middle-aged man walked up to Li Changsheng. Although his words were respectful, his tone was very cold. "He seems to be the follower of the immortal Abode Island's island master." Someone recognized the middle-aged man, and there was a burst of discussion. When Bai Cha and the others saw the middle-aged man, a smile appeared on their faces. The three immortal islands on the sea were connected, and Penglai Island and Immortal Island had many friendships. Sure enough, when the middle-aged man saw Bai Cha and the others, he bowed again. "Greetings, Elder Bai Cha, Miss Gu. Li Changsheng came here to get in touch with the people of the three immortal islands and understand the secret of Taoist Sanfeng's breakthrough." When he heard that it was the island master of Immortal Island, he immediately nodded and agreed. "Okay, where's your island master? Take me to him." The few of them walked inside together. After making many turns, they saw a pavilion in front. Under the pavilion, two old men were playing Go, and there were many disciples standing guard around. After Li Changxing appeared, he wanted to go forward. Unexpectedly, after taking 2 steps, the middle-aged man who led them here reached out and blocked his path. "My master is playing Go with the island master of Fangzhong Island. He doesn't like to be disturbed when playing Go, so Mr. Li, please wait for a moment." Hearing the middle-aged man's words, Li Changsheng couldn't help but frown. The Immortal Abode Island's island master was really arrogant. He sent someone to invite him over, but he was playing chess leisurely. Now that he had appeared, he didn't welcome him immediately. Instead, he wanted him to wait outside. "You want me, Li Changsheng, to wait? I'm afraid your island master isn't qualified." Li Changsheng coldly snorted and pushed the middle-aged man's arm to the side. He quickly walked forward. "Impudent!" The middle-aged man was enraged, and he waved his hand to grab Li Changsheng's shoulder without hesitation. However, before his palm landed, a black shadow flashed, and the middle-aged man flew out like a kite with a broken string. It was the giant-boned Snake King. The middle-aged man flew for more than 10 meters before he struggled to get up. The commotion finally attracted the attention of the 2 old men who were playing chess. One of them raised an eyebrow and said coldly, "You're that Mr. Li. Did your subordinate kill Lei Xiao?" The other party was still sitting there and did not get up. His tone was a little overbearing and arrogant. "That's right, my subordinates killed him. Why? What does Lei Xiao have to do with you? Is he your family or friend?" Li Changxing's brows furrowed slightly. He was somewhat displeased with the other party's tone. "That's not true." The purple-robed old man put the chess piece back into the jar. He clapped his hands and slowly stood up. "That Lei Xiao has nothing to do with me, but you didn't give me any face when you sent my subordinate flying. Originally, I called you here because I wanted to see who could kill Lei Xiao, and maybe I could help you. But now I've changed my mind. I heard that after Lei Xiao was killed, you fed his inner core to your mount, Yellow Bull. Then, leave your Yellow Bull to me as an apology." The old man put his hands behind his back, exuding an aloof aura. "Uncle Gua, Mr. Li and Elder Bai Cha know each other. Please don't be angry. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble." Gu Qingyu said, "So it's you, Qingyu. Why? Is this Li related to Penglai Island?" "Not really." Gu Qingyu shook her head. "Since you're not related, Qingyu, you don't have to get involved." As he spoke, he looked at Li Changxing again. "What do you think? What do you think of my suggestion?" The island master of Yingzhou Island, Guoshan, had a strong aura. Hearing that he wanted to take the Yellow Bull away, the Yellow Bull looked like it was begging. Li Changsheng patted the Yellow Bull's head to comfort it. Then, he looked at Guoshan with a cold smile. "I'm afraid you don't want my Yellow Bull, but Lei Xiao's inner core in the Yellow Bull? Haha, it seems that you know a lot. That's right. This Yellow Bull has eaten Lei Xiao's inner core, and the Thunder Dao law has been refined by its body. I only need to put it into the cauldron as an ingredient for refining for 49 days. Then, the energy of the inner core will be completely refined into a cauldron of 8 treasure pills." Hearing Guoshan's words, the Yellow Bull's body trembled slightly. The method that Guoshan mentioned made the Yellow Bull shudder. "You're quite calculative. I'm afraid that even if I don't beat up your subordinates, you'll find another excuse to snatch my yellow bowl. Friend, you're gauging the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. I, Guoshun, am the island master of Yingzhou Island. Why would I covet your treasures? You're really sanctimonious. However, no one has ever been able to snatch something from me, Li Changsheng. So, you're not going to hand over the yellow bowl. The smile on Guoshun's face suddenly turned cold. He said in a chilling voice, "You've injured my subordinates. If you don't hand over the yellow bowl, you'll become the enemy of Yingzhou Island. And the end of being the enemy of Yingzhou Island will be very miserable." As soon as he finished speaking, Guoshun's murderous aura rose. Under this powerful aura, even the air seemed to be frozen. The old man who was playing chess with Guoshun didn't raise his head to look at them from the beginning to the end. It seemed that he was still studying the chess game. So, there's no other choice? Li Changsheng raised his eyebrows. Friend, I, Guoshun, am a very reasonable person. You've injured my subordinates. If it were someone else, I would have cut him into pieces. But you only need to hand over a mount. Moreover, you'll win my friendship because of this. In this sea, who doesn't know the prestige of Yingzhou Island? Why are you so stubborn? Guoshun said with a smile, but that smile was full of hypocrisy. Gu Qingyu, who was next to him, pulled Li Changsheng's sleeve and whispered, Island Master Guoshun is very powerful. You'd better not have a head-on conflict with him. However, Li Changsheng didn't seem to hear Gu Qingyu's reminder. He sneered, My yellow bull is right here. Come and get it if you can. Also, is Yingzhou Island that great? If you piss me off, I'll flatten your entire island. You're courting death. Guoshun's eyes surged with murderous intent when he heard that. Gu Qingyu shook her head. Once she said that, there was no room for negotiation. Kid, since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame me. As soon as Guoshun finished speaking, he directly raised his hand to grab Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng didn't move. The giant bone snake king had already taken a step forward and faced Guoshun. The giant bone snake king was originally an existence that was second only to the leader of the Demon Alliance. It had just refined Lei Zhao's body, and its strength was more profound. At this moment, it immediately displayed a terrifying power. Chapter 8:11. The black spear let out a sharp whistling sound, which was soul-stirring. Late stage of the finger-profound realm, close to the peak. Even Guoshun was surprised, but quickly turned into a sneer. I'm the island lord of Ying State Island. I broke through to the peak of the finger-profound realm 3 years ago. Your strength is not enough. As soon as he finished speaking, the power of Guoshun's palm surged and slammed down on the giant bone snake king's black spear. The palm landed on the giant bone snake king's spear, and the giant bone snake king took a few steps back. After forcing the giant bone snake king back with one move, Guoshun's confidence increased greatly. He raised his hand and charged forward again. He was determined to kill the giant bone snake king first before dealing with Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng couldn't help but frown as Guoshun's cultivation level was higher than the giant bone snake king's. If this continued, the giant bone snake king might not be able to escape defeat. Giant bone snake king, step back. Li Changsheng suddenly spoke and stopped the giant bone snake king, who was about to continue attacking. He then raised his hand and formed a giant palm print, grabbing at Guoshun. Guoshun was the island lord of Ying State Island. He was the person Li Changsheng wanted to visit this time. However, Guoshun's behavior was unreasonable. He wanted to steal Li Changsheng's mount, which offended Li Changsheng's forbidden lamella. Li Changsheng attacked without hesitation. Although Li Changsheng's strength was also in the finger-profound realm, even the legendary Earth Immortal Realm martial artist might not be a match for Li Changsheng, let alone a finger-profound realm martial artist. Therefore, when his palm landed, it carried a powerful force, which made everyone's expression change. People like Bai Cha, Zhou Wan, and the others were better. After all, they had seen Li Changsheng's means before, so they weren't too shocked. Gu Qingyu, Ying State Island, and Fangzhong Island's disciples saw Li Changsheng attack for the first time, so they were shocked. Even the old man, who had been paying attention to the chessboard, finally turned his gaze over. Facing Li Changxing's attack, Guoshun sneered. Even a grain of rice can emit light. Guoshun's strength had already reached the peak of the finger-profound realm. He was someone who could truly move unhindered under the heavens. So, no matter how strong Li Changxing's displayed strength was, it was still nothing in his eyes. A chess piece appeared between Guoshun's fingers. With a flick of his wrist, the chess piece shot towards Li Changxing's palm like a bullet, producing a whistling sound. Bang! The chess piece that was infused with Guoshun's quintessential essence instantly shattered into a pile of powder the moment it came into contact with the giant palm print. In the next second, Li Changxing's palm mercilessly slapped Guoshun's body. Guoshun's body sank into the ground, creating a 5-meter-deep crater. It seems that I have underestimated you. In the next second, a disheveled Guoshun rushed out of the pit. His body rose into the air, his clothes fluttering in the wind. His eyes were filled with fury. As the island master of the immortal island of the three immortal island, he was a supreme existence in the hundreds of thousands of miles of sea. He was the ruler of the world. Why had he ever been slapped into a crack in the ground? I underestimated you just now. Now, you have successfully angered me. Die. Guoshun raised his fist and swooped down from the sky, rushing towards Li Changxing. Many people around revealed a strange look in their eyes. It was obvious that Guoshun was serious. He can still attack me after being slapped by my palm print. It seems that the island master of the three immortal island is indeed stronger than ordinary warriors. Although Li Changxing was a little surprised, that was all. It was like seeing an ant on the side of the road and stepping on it. The ant was actually not trampled to death. While Li Changxing's thoughts were running wild, Guoshun had already arrived in front of him. However, just as Guoshun's fist was about to touch Li Changxing suddenly slapped out. Bang! Then, Guoshun was sent flying again like a ball hit by a baseball. He fell head first into the rockery dozens of meters away, smashing the rockery into pieces. Everyone's eyes widened when they saw this scene. Guoshun is the island master of the immortal island, but he was sent flying so easily. Isn't this young man too powerful? The old man who was playing chess with Guoshun also stood up at this moment with a serious look in his eyes. Guoshun was already the top expert in this world, and Li Changxing had the upper hand twice in a row. This was already very clear. Even if Guoshun was suspected of underestimating his opponent, it was impossible for him to send Guoshun flying without the strength to match Guoshun's. I want you to die. An angry roar came from not far away. Guoshun flew into the sky again, but his face became ferocious. This was a great humiliation to him. It seems that I have to get serious. Originally, on account of you being the island master of the immortal island, I had something to ask you and wanted to spare your life. It seems that I have to kill you. As soon as Li Changxing finished speaking, the originally calm aura on his body suddenly became violent. A powerful aura spread out from his body in all directions like raging waves. At this moment, Guoshun, who had been in a frenzy, calmed down instantly. The senses between experts were the most sensitive. Li Changxing's powerful aura immediately made him sense danger. Just based on the power that Li Changxing had erupted, he could be sure that Li Changxing's strength was definitely not inferior to his. If it was someone weaker than him, he would naturally be able to attack without restraint. However, if the other party's strength was not inferior to his, then he would need to think twice. Brother Guo, don't worry, I'll help you. The old man finally couldn't help but walk out. The island master of the Fangzhong Island, Su Yao. It was said that he was a descendant of Su Fu. Su Fu went overseas to look for immortal herbs for Qin Shi Huang. In fact, he had settled down on the Fangzhong Island. His descendants had several cultivation experts. This was no longer a secret in the overseas cultivation world. Su Yao stood out, dressed in white. He gave people a feeling that he was one with the world. It was as if he had merged with the world. His martial arts realm was even stronger than Guoshun's. The Three Immortal Island was the leader of the overseas human race. The three island masters were also supreme figures. Now, two island masters had chosen to join forces. Even Bai Cha and the others, who had seen Li Changxing's strength, couldn't help but gasp. They no longer believed that Li Changxing could win. Su Yao entered the arena and formed a triangle with Guo Shun. Both of their auras locked onto Li Changxing. At this moment, even the surrounding spectators felt a terrifying pressure. I heard that the pavilion master of the treasure pavilion, Xia Hofu, joined forces with 9 rogue cultivators to set up a killing trap. In the end, a young man came out of nowhere and killed 10-finger profound realm experts. That young man should be you, right? With such strength at such a young age, you should be invincible in the world in the future. Unfortunately, you're unlucky today to meet me and Brother Gua. As long as you don't enter the earth immortal realm, no one can stop the two of us. Su Yao said leisurely. The power that 2 peak-finger profound realm experts could unleash was absolutely terrifying. In his opinion, no matter how strong Li Changxing was, he couldn't turn the tables. Chapter 8:12. Young man, your strength is shocking. I presume the cultivation technique you practice is also very powerful. As long as you're willing to obediently hand over the cultivation technique you practice and allow the two of us to plant restrictions in your body, we can spare your life today. Otherwise, once the two of us attack, you will die without a doubt. Su Yao looked calm, but in fact, he had been secretly accumulating power. When his voice fell, his chi had reached its peak state, and his eyes were filled with confidence. Do you really think that the two of you can deal with me by joining hands? Li Changxing's lips curled into a mocking smile. Young man, don't bluff. If you can escape from our hands, then the two of us are not worthy of being the island masters of the 3 immortal island. The aura of the two rose to the peak, sealing the space around Li Changxing. Human, you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Since you are not willing to hand over your cultivation technique, then don't blame us for being ruthless. Su Yao and Guo Shun looked at each other, and then they attacked Li Changxing at the same time. In their eyes, Li Changxing was already a turtle in a jar. No matter how strong he was, there was no one in the world who could stop the two of them. Their confidence had been verified, and they were not blindly arrogant. Sigh. Bai Cha sighed. For an expert like Li Changxing, she actually had the intention to rope him in. Originally, she planned to wait until she met the Penglai Island Master to develop Li Changxing into a loyal ally of the Penglai Island. Who would have thought that such a thing would happen when they just arrived at the island? She felt that it was a pity. The 2 island masters of Ing State and Fangzhong stood opposite of Li Changxing. Whether it was their relationship with the Penglai Island or the 2 islands, or their judgment of the 2 forces, it was impossible for them to stand on Li Changxing's side. However, it was good that Li Changxing died. Once he died, the 3 immortal island would still be the ruler of this world. The others on the scene revealed an expression of watching a good show. Since they could remember, this was the first time they saw the 2 island masters joining hands to fight against an enemy. They were all very excited. Hopefully, he won't be killed and can escape with his life. Zhou Wan lowered her head. She was worried for Li Changxing. The immortal island Lord Guo Shun's white robe fluttered in the wind as he waved his hand. A ball of white clouds condensed into a giant hand that grabbed towards Li Changxing. Su Yao's yin and yang split in front of him. He wanted to slice the heavens and earth apart and descend onto Li Changxing's body. Both of them were cultivators with profound Taoist skills. Although they looked casual when they raised their hands, they were filled with murderous intent. In the face of such an attack, Li Changxing wielded the heart's wishful sword. Sword light flashed, and the area within a radius of 5 zhong transformed into a sword domain. No matter what kind of attack it was, upon making contact with the sword domain, it was instantly pulverized. Guo Shun and Su Yao, the 2 island masters, were astonished. They didn't expect that their joint attack wouldn't even have a chance to get close to Li Changxing. If such a battle record were to spread out, it would definitely cause a sensation. The 2 of them looked at each other and attacked at the same time as if they had a tacit understanding. Both of them shot out a ray of light from their hands. The light merged into one in the air and turned into a spinning water ball that shot towards Li Changsheng. The originally soft water ball was now filled with supreme power. Wherever it passed, even the void began to shatter. The power was absolutely terrifying. Li Changsheng's sword domain was shattered after blocking the water ball for a few seconds. He hurriedly dodged to the side. The water ball brushed past his body and hit the ground behind him. It instantly pierced through the ground behind him and created a 10-meter-wide crater. Li Changsheng, now that you know how powerful the two of us are you willing to hand over your cultivation technique? Su Yao said coldly. Until now, he was still spying on Li Changsheng's cultivation technique. The two of them had just launched a joint attack and easily broke Li Changsheng's sword domain. This gave them a boost of confidence, and they felt that there was no suspense in the following battle. Mr. Li, why don't you hand over your cultivation technique? It's better than losing your life. Zhouan couldn't help but advise. Even the giant bone snake king's face was filled with worry. Li Changsheng's opponents were two peak-finger profound realm experts. They were the true experts of the 10,000-mile sea region. You dare to provoke our island lord? You're courting death. The disciples of Ing State and Fangzhong Island sneered. It's too early for you to be happy, Li Changsheng said with a sneer. He calmly sized up Guo Shun and Su Yao as if he was looking at two clowns. Stubborn, Guo Shun and Su Yao attacked again. Their attacks formed a yin and yang pattern in the sky and slashed towards Li Changsheng. Break for me. Li Changsheng also attacked at the same time. A ray of sword light soared into the sky, stirring up the wind and clouds as it slashed down. Sword-shattering universe. Following Li Changsheng's shout, the whole world seemed to be split apart. With this sword strike, the clouds in the sky started to roll back. Hula! That yin and yang pattern was instantly broken into two halves. Immediately after, Guo Shun and Su Yao were sent flying by the sword light. The pavilion and rockery in the distance instantly collapsed and were razed to the ground. Everyone who witnessed this scene felt their minds sway. In the next moment, the sword light slashed again, directly slashing towards Guo Shun. Guo Shun's face was as white as a sheet of paper. A cloud appeared above his head, wanting to block it. However, the cloud was instantly broken before the sword light. Then, the sword slashed down, splitting Guo Shun into two halves. He fell from the sky, and the smell of blood permeated the air. The whole place became so quiet that even a needle could be heard. No one would have thought that two peak-finger profound realm experts working together would not only fail to kill Li Changsheng, but one of them was killed by Li Changsheng instead. Su Yao, who ran to the side and stopped, looked at this scene with a dumbfounded expression. At the same time, a strong, lingering fear rose in his heart. If Li Changsheng didn't choose to deal with Guo Shun after breaking the two's joint attack, but chose to deal with him instead, the person who would be dead now would be him. It was equivalent to him escaping death. As for Bai Cha, Zhou Wan, and the others, their faces were filled with astonishment. Penglai Island and Ing State Abbot Island had been friends for many generations. Naturally, they knew the strength of these two island lords very well. But now, one of them was easily killed by Li Changsheng. This was too terrifying. Even if my father comes, he might not be a match for him. Gu Qingyu muttered to herself. She had blind worship for her father and thought that there was nothing she couldn't do. In fact, the Penglai Island Lord was the leader of the three immortal island. It wasn't an exaggeration to call him the #1 expert in the sea. But now that she had seen Li Changsheng's means, she knew that her father's title as the #1 expert in the sea would probably change hands. Hula! The sword light flowed and cut through the void, directly slashing towards Su Yao, who had luckily escaped with his life. Since the other party wanted to kill him, Li Changsheng naturally wouldn't show mercy. The sword light was resplendent and had a powerful sharpness. It was like the Grim Reaper. Before it landed, it had already sealed Su Yao's escape route. Chapter 813. Open for me. Su Yao was also determined to kill. In such a situation, there was no other choice. He immediately went all out. As he waved his hand, the yin and yang 8 trigrams pattern rotated under his feet. Another white sword was spat out from his mouth and clashed with Li Changxing's sword light. This was Su Yao's life sword and also the island's divine artifact passed down from his ancestors. Ever since he became the island lord, this was the first time he used it. The white sword clashed with Li Changxing's heart-wishful sword and was sent flying out of his hand. Seeing that the sword light was about to land, Su Yao's eyes were already filled with despair. He had already used all his trump cards and was at the end of the road. Friend, where it is possible to let people off, let them off. Why must you be so ruthless? Just at this moment, a loud and clear voice rang out. The void in front trembled, and then an old figure stepped out. He raised his hand and formed a white net, blocking Li Changxing's sword light. Bang! 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 The sword light slashed on the big net, and the big net kept breaking. When the sword light completely tore the big net, the power was also weakened by countless times. Then, the old man gently waved his hand and patted on the sword light, completely negating the sword light. Greetings, Island Lord. The moment the old man appeared, Bai Cha and the others from Penglai Island cupped their hands and bowed. Su Yao, who had escaped from death, heaved a sigh of relief. Thank you, Brother Gu, for saving us. The identity of the old man was self-evident. He was the island lord of Penglai Island, Gu Bairen. After the old man appeared, a few more figures quickly flew over. They were all experts of their own. They stood behind Gu Bairen in an orderly manner. Their aura was similar to Gu Bairen's. They were obviously Gu Bairen's subordinates. When the disciples of Fangzhong Island saw that their island lord was forced into a desperate situation by Li Changxing, they were already in despair. When they saw Gu Bairen, they were all overjoyed. The three immortal island was dominated by Penglai Island. Among the three island lords, Gu Bairen was the strongest. It was said that Gu Bairen had already broken through to the peak of the Finger Profound realm 10 years ago and had been in seclusion ever since. This was the first time he had come out of seclusion in 10 years. Just from the way he blocked Li Changxing's sword light, it was clear that he was much more skilled than Su Yao. Gu Bairen stood in the air, his white robe fluttering in the wind. He had the demeanor of an immortal. He looked at Li Changxing calmly. Little friend, you're young and powerful. This is very rare, but you don't know how to respect the old and love the young. This is very bad. Although it seemed that Gu Bairen was indeed Li Changxing's elder based on his age, the way he addressed Li Changxing as a child had a sense of superiority. You and I both belong to the Finger Profound realm, so you should address me as fellow Taoist. Since you call me little friend, should I call you old Zao? As expected, Li Changxing said with some displeasure. Little children have to listen to adults. You did something wrong and still don't listen to a lesson. You deserve to be beaten. Gu Bairen raised his palm and slapped towards Li Changxing's face from a distance of more than 10 meters. The palm was casual, but the space around Li Changxing was confined. Bang! Li Changxing casually raised his hand to block the other party's attack. The two palms collided in the air, causing the surrounding space to tremble. Your strength is indeed very strong. You're the strongest person I've seen so far, second only to me, Gu Bairen said indifferently. But you should have a more humble attitude towards your elders, because there will always be people stronger than you in this world. Gu Bairen spoke slowly. His voice was leisurely, neither fast nor slow. It was like a small bridge over flowing water, without the slightest hint of the intensity of a battle. But as he waved his palm, droplets of water condensed in the air. Those crystal-clear water droplets suddenly exploded when they flew towards Li Changxing. The sharp killing intent could shake the sun and moon. A pebble could destroy a star. This was a terrifying control over the power of heaven and earth. As soon as Gu Bairen made his move, everyone around felt their minds swaying. Is island owner Gu going to take that step? Even Su Yao was shocked. The oneness of heaven and men, replacing the heaven's heart with one's own heart, was a state that could only be achieved by comprehending the great way of Earth Immortals. However, the existence of Earth Immortals was not allowed in this world. Of course, Gu Byron could not be an Earth Immortal. Could it be that he already has the power of an Earth Immortal, but he hasn't really become an Earth Immortal, or can he be called a human immortal? Su Yao murmured to himself with envy in his eyes. He had also broken through the peak of the profound finger realm for many years, but he had never been able to reach the Earth Immortal realm. But he also heaved a sigh of relief. Originally, when Gu Byron appeared, his heart was still hanging in the air. It was really because Li Changsheng was too terrifying. But now, he finally felt relieved. If he wanted to defeat Gu Byron, he had to have the combat strength of an Earth Immortal. He was sure that Li Changsheng had not broken through to the Earth Immortal realm. As long as he didn't enter the Earth Immortal realm, how could he have the combat strength of an Earth Immortal? Whoosh! The water droplets contained the power of heaven and earth, and all of them were shot toward Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng's aura was surging. Under the dense sword chi, there seemed to be thousands of swords flying in front of him, forming an impenetrable defense. Although the water droplets were powerful, they were cut into countless pieces when they collided with the sword chi. In the end, they dissipated in the air. Li Changsheng showed an exquisite swordsmanship. Others condensed the sword into a thread to concentrate the power, but he did the opposite and turned it into thousands of swords. Wonderful! Gu Byron was not surprised that Li Changsheng had broken his move. Instead, he applauded softly. Originally, he had used this move to test his opponent. Gu Byron, if you have any tricks, just use them. Anyway, you're the island owner of Penglai Island. What's the point of testing me like this? Li Changsheng said in a cold voice. Haha, if I really use them, I'm afraid you can't withstand one of my moves. Gu Byron was very confident. The void behind him shook. He stood there as if he was between the void and the real, ethereal and unpredictable. Boom! He raised his palm again. As his fingers moved, tornadoes formed in the void and attacked Li Changsheng, controlling the power of heaven and earth to fight against the enemy. What a terrifying move. Everyone was shocked by Gu Byron's strength. Although Li Changsheng is strong, he will die when facing the island owner of Penglai Island. Many people mumbled to themselves, "My father is the most powerful." That Li Changsheng should open his mouth and admit defeat instead of being arrogant and offending my father. Gu Qingyu was full of admiration for her father. The island owner of Penglai Island is famous in the sea. His strength is unfathomable. I wonder if Mr. can withstand him. The giant bone snake king was worried. The tornadoes stirred up the wind and the clouds, shattering the void around Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng was in the middle of the tornadoes. He kept punching out to shatter the attacks, as if he was tired of dealing with them. Kid, do you realize your mistake now? Gu Byron was calm from the beginning to the end, as if everything was under his control. Chapter 814. Those who originally thought that Li Changsheng was invincible couldn't help but sigh. The older the ginger, the spicier it is. Mr. Li, hurry up and beg for mercy. Island Lord, please show mercy. Zhou Wan was kinder and couldn't help but remind Li Changsheng. She couldn't bear to see Li Changsheng die in the hands of Gu Byron. Yellow Ox, who had received Li Changsheng's kindness, had bloodshot eyes. It let out a roar and wanted to rush forward to save Li Changsheng. However, the giant bone snake king grabbed onto its horns tightly. Don't be impulsive. You will only be killed instantly if you go up. You won't be able to help Master at all. Bai Cha sighed softly. Between Li Changsheng and Gu Byron, she would naturally side with Gu Byron. The island lord of Penglai Island is still the most powerful. Wei Shitong said gloatingly. Li Changsheng's attack was too powerful. Therefore, she could only suppress the humiliation she suffered from Li Changsheng in her heart. But now she felt carefree. In everyone's eyes, no matter how powerful Li Changsheng was, he was just the monkey son who wreaked havoc in the sky. On the other hand, the island lord of Penglai Island, Gu Bairon, was the Buddha. Monkey Sun couldn't escape from the five-finger mountain of Buddha. This is the strength of the number one expert in the sea. The island lord of Penglai Island, Gu Bairon, is indeed worthy of being the master of a major force that has been passed down for thousands of years. No matter how powerful Li Changsheng is, he will still die in his hands. Many people lowered their heads and sighed. Gu Bairon, do you really think you can win for sure? Li Changsheng's eyes finally flashed with a trace of coldness. Towards Gu Bairon, he had always been merciful, because the purpose of coming to the sea this time was to go to Penglai Island and ask about the matter of Zhang Sanfeng. However, since the other party had treated him like a soft persimmon, then Li Changsheng was not a bodhisattva who would not be angry. Isn't that the case? Gu Bairon sneered relentlessly. At the next moment, Li Changsheng raised the ardent dragon spear and thrust it forward. At first, the spear did not seem to have much power. However, the moment it was fully unleashed, the entire world began to tremble. Countless amounts of energy surged madly, stirring up tornadoes. Even the ground was trembling. The attack launched by Gu Bairon was completely crushed after coming into contact with the tornado. The golden spear transformed into a roaring dragon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws as it rushed towards Gu Bairon. What? Gu Bairon's eyes were filled with shock. He kept waving his hands, and wind blades were shot out by him, forming layers of protection. However, under the golden dragon, any attack was destroyed as if it was made of rotten wood. Layer after layer of protection was broken. Gu Bairon, who had always had the upper hand, finally chose to retreat. However, the golden dragon was even faster. Boom! To everyone's astonishment, the golden dragon crashed into Gu Bairon's chest. In the next second, Gu Bairon flew out like a kite with a broken string, landing dozens of meters away. Everyone at the scene widened their eyes and was filled with disbelief. The shock in their hearts made their minds go blank. Gu Qingyu opened her cherry mouth, and her eyes were filled with astonishment. Her father had always been an undefeated legend in her heart. He was invincible, but now he was actually sent flying by someone. Elder Bai Cha looked as if she had seen a ghost. This had completely subverted her imagination. The giant bone snake king couldn't help but laugh out loud. I knew it. I knew that master would not lose. Yeah, Yellow Ox also spoke in human language. On the small island, the battle here attracted countless people to watch from afar. However, the result made everyone inexplicably shocked and unable to believe it. Dozens of meters away, Gu Bairon crawled out from the pit. His face was covered in dust, and his face was filled with anger. Li Changsheng slowly raised the ardent dragon spear in his hand and locked onto Gu Bairon's position. In my eyes, you're nothing. The scene was silent. Only the sound of the biting wind and the shocked gazes could be heard. The master of Penglai Island, Gu Bairon, had actually been defeated. It should be known that he had broken through to the half-step Earth Celestial stage and was known as the Human Celestial. As long as he passed the heavenly tribulation, he would immediately become an Earth Celestial. Looking back 2,000 years, no one could be compared with him. But now, he had really been defeated. No matter how unwilling people were to believe it, the truth was right in front of them. I was wondering why the name Li Changsheng sounded so familiar. I remember now. He is the #1 expert in the continent's cultivation world. I heard that countless finger-profound realm cultivators have died in his hands. So it's him. The #1 genius of the Kunlun sect was also killed by him. So was Mei Guanjing's master, Xiao Yunqing. There was a lot of discussion in the crowd. Li Changsheng's identity and many of his achievements were also dug out. Only then did people realize how terrifying this seemingly young man was. Many self-proclaimed geniuses in the scene smiled bitterly. They thought that their talents were amazing, but compared with Li Changsheng, they were just dung. I will kill you. Gu Bairon gnashed his teeth and looked at Li Changsheng. He was the dignified island owner of Penglai Island, whose power shook the entire sea area. He was supreme. Now, he was beaten to the ground. If this embarrassing situation was spread out in the future, the reputation of Penglai Island would be ruined by him. It seems that you still don't understand the situation. Face is not important at all. You should be more worried about your life. Li Changsheng said lightly. I just underestimated you. Gu Bairan had just opened his mouth. Li Changsheng waved the ardent dragon spear and smashed it down. The golden spear shadow split the air into two and became hundreds of feet long. It directly smashed down on Gu Bairan's head. Bang! Gu Bairan didn't expect Li Changsheng to attack as soon as he said he would. He raised his arms to form a cross to receive Li Changsheng's attack, but in the next second, there was a kacha sound. The cross between his arms was smashed apart, and one of his arms was strangely bent. Even though Gu Bairan used all his strength, he was still smashed a few meters away. How can he be so powerful? There was no longer any calmness on his face. His arms were trembling slightly. His bones had just been broken, and he was constantly using his true essence to repair them. Although he wasn't a body refiner, as a human immortal, his physical strength had reached the peak of the human world. Ordinary spirit weapons couldn't break his physical defense. But now his bones were broken. How could he not be shocked? He's so powerful at such a young age. Could he be the reincarnation of an ancient great divine ability? Otherwise, there's no way to explain it. Gu Bairan's heart was like a stormy sea. Just as he was thinking, Li Changsheng had already smashed the spear down again. Total annihilation. Splitting Mount Hua. Splitting heaven and earth. Inverted sun and moon. Li Changsheng used one killing saint art after another. The whole sky was full of afterimages and chaotic chi. Block for me. Gu Bairan was so shocked at this moment. He didn't dare to block Li Changsheng's scorching dragon spear with his physical body. He waved his hands and summoned a defensive artifact. Penglai Island had been passed down for thousands of years and had countless treasures. This artifact was called the Primeval Chaos Silver Dipper. Its defensive power was extremely strong. Countless afterimages fell on the Silver Dipper, making clanking sounds. None of them could break the Primeval Chaos Silver Dipper. Penglai Island has thousands of years of heritage. Although he's not as strong as Li Changsheng, Island Master Gu should have many tricks that he hasn't used. No one knows the result until the end. Countless people were shaken. This was definitely the most powerful battle in this world. It's a pity that a spirit artifact was destroyed just like that. Li Changsheng sighed and rose into the sky. The long spear in his hand suddenly became 100 feet long. A golden sun was shining at the tip of the spear. The young patriarch of the White Flood Dragon clan had used this move before, but it couldn't compare with Li Changsheng's majesty at this moment. Sun-splitting golden spear. With Li Changsheng's shout, the whole sky rumbled as if there was a deity beating a drum. Crack! The golden sun fell from the sky with the long spear. The Primeval Chaos Silver Dipper cracked and turned into a pile of dust. How is this possible? Gu Bairan hurriedly stepped back. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He originally thought that he was invincible after breaking through to the human celestial stage, unless an earthly immortal realm master came. However, Li Changsheng's appearance made him realize that he was a frog at the bottom of the well. Chapter 8:15. After retreating for dozens of meters, Gu Bairan spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked much more dispirited. Part of it was because of Li Changsheng's strength, and the other part was that the spear had broken the Primeval Dipper and damaged his body. Li Changsheng's strength shocked everyone once again. Gu Bairan was a half-step Earth immortal. He should have been invincible in the world, but now he was so embarrassed by Li Changsheng. Continue. Li Changsheng raised the ardent dragon spear in his hand and smashed down. The Earth Immortal was the top combat power in this world. There were few people in the world who could make him fight freely. Boom! As the spear fell, it gave people a feeling that the world was collapsing, as if it was the end of the world. It's too scary. Gu Bairan was no longer confident. The power of this spear was different from his oneness of heaven and man, which borrowed the power of heaven and earth. It was completely his own strength. The attack was stronger than the power of heaven and earth. Gu Byron fell helpless. He knew that he could not withstand this attack. Boom, boom, boom. Bursts of energy exploded. Gu Byron retreated hundreds of meters. The whole ground began to appear in the direction where the ardent dragon spear fell. If one looked from afar, they could see the waves in the surrounding sea. It was like the punishment of heaven. Everyone was shocked. This was not the power of heaven and earth. Is he a reincarnated earth immortal? Thump, thump, thump. Li Changsheng was running in the sky, leaving a series of afterimages behind him. The golden spear in his hand pierced the void. After catching up with Gu Byron, Li Changsheng used his pure physical strength and the overbearing power of the ardent dragon spear. He was like a human-shaped Tyrannosaurus. Gu Byron was also going all out. He threw out one Dharma treasure after another, as if they were free. There was the Jiao dragon halberd, the treasure flower sword, the demon vanquishing pestle, and the Azura fan. There were more than 20 of them. What a pity! Li Changsheng sighed with emotion. These were all very high-quality magic treasures. If they were converted into spirit stones, it would definitely be an astronomical figure. Although he said it was a pity, he didn't show any mercy. Bang, 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 bang. The ardent dragon spear swept across the area, and a total of 5 magic tools exploded into pieces. The golden light swept towards Gu Byron, forcing him to retreat more than 10 steps. Continue. The spear was like a dragon, shining with resplendent golden light. There were still more than 10 magical treasures left, and they emitted clanking sounds. Every time the spear descended, a magical treasure would be destroyed. Not to mention Gu Byron, even the spectators felt their hearts ache. Every magic treasure was enough to cause a sensation if they were to be auctioned, but now they were like rags, smashed one by one. Bai Cha sighed. How could she not be worried about Gu Byron? However, what could she do? Although she was also in the finger-profound realm, the aftermath of the battle made her heart palpitate. If she really joined the battle, it would only take Li Changsheng a little effort. Take another move from me. When Li Changsheng's spear landed again, the dozens of magical treasures that Gu Byron took out were all shattered. At the same time, a golden spear with an afterimage traversed the void and smashed towards Gu Byron. This spear didn't seem as powerful as the previous one, but Gu Byron's expression was extremely ugly. Returning to the origin, turning the simple into the complicated, this was the real killing move. When the golden spear landed, the void around Gu Byron was completely sealed. There was no way to dodge. Then, the spear swept across Gu Byron's chest. Gu Byron's body flew out like a cannonball, and a black hole was dug out in the ground. Boom! Li Changsheng smashed the spear into the hole again. The golden light wreaked havoc, and a huge, deep hole was created in the ground. Gu Byron's body was smashed out of the hole again. There was nowhere to escape. Gu Byron was coughing up blood. His clothes were messy, and there was a hole in his chest. Again, another spear swept across, and Gu Byron's lower abdomen was smashed. His entire body bent like a shrimp, like a baseball that was hit. He drew a perfect parabola in the sky and fell to the ground. Gu Byron, do you dare to take another move from me? Li Changsheng slowly raised the ardent dragon spear, and an aura that made people's hearts palpitate was emitted from his body. At this moment, the entire world changed with his actions. Previously, he had been relying on the strength of his physical body. At this moment, he was finally going to use the advantage of his realm and borrow the power of heaven and earth. Boom, 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 boom. Violent sounds came from nowhere, and they were rumbling in all directions. Above the firmament, the wind and clouds changed, and the void trembled. The sea beasts in the sea even let out a whimper. Everyone looked at Li Changsheng in the sky, as if they were looking at a god. In the sky and on the ground, he was the only one who reigned supreme. Chapter 816. Gu Byron's eyes were filled with despair. If one didn't reach his level, one wouldn't know that the terrifying thing about the finger-profound realm was that one could use the power of heaven and earth. Under the support of the power of heaven and earth, one's combat strength would increase by dozens of times. Previously, Li Changsheng had been using the power of his physical body. He was afraid of how terrifying Li Changsheng would be once he used the power of heaven and earth. Now, his worry had finally come. He couldn't even block Li Changsheng's physical body. Once Li Changsheng used the power of heaven and earth, he would die without a doubt. At this moment, seeing that Li Changsheng was about to attack, he finally lowered his arrogant head. "I beg you to show mercy and spare my life." He begged for mercy. Gu Bairan, the island master of Penglai Island, the master of a large force with thousands of years of history, the number one person in the sea, chose to surrender. He was afraid of death after all. Everyone around was shocked. If such news were to spread, who knew how many people would be shocked? The rise of a strong person, stepping on the body of his predecessor. Li Changsheng stepped on Gu Bairan to reach the supreme position. "Is it just that you're convinced?" Li Changsheng's voice was as cold as ice. "I don't know what else you want." Gu Bairan's heart was bitter. In the past, he was the high and mighty island master of Penglai Island. Everyone who saw him had to be respectful. However, he didn't expect that there would be a day when he would lower his head and beg. "Other than the magic treasures that I destroyed just now, you should have some magic treasures on you. Also, hand over all your spirit stones. This is the first point." Li Changsheng said. Gu Bairan nodded. He did have a lot of spirit stones on him. However, compared to his life, these were just worldly possessions. He took out a few Chinquin bags. Li Changsheng waved his hand and kept the Chinquin bags. "I don't know what else you want." Gu Bairan only wanted to live. "Back then, I said that I would flatten Ningzhou Island. I'll leave this matter to you. After flattening it, you have to hand over everything on Ningzhou Island. All right, and Fangzhong Island." This, Gu Bairan looked troubled. Penglai Island and Ningzhou Fangzhong Island had been allies since ancient times. Now that Li Changsheng asked him to do this, wasn't this asking him to be a treacherous villain? "If you don't want to, you could die now." Killing intent surged in Li Changsheng's eyes. "Don't go too far." Su Yao finally couldn't help but shout. Li Changsheng didn't even raise his head. He just waved the ardent dragon spear, and under a golden light, Su Yao's body exploded. Gu Bairan's heart suddenly jumped. Finally, he gritted his teeth and nodded. "Okay, I'll listen to you." Finally, and also the most important point, back then, Wudong's sex Taoist Sanfeng broke through the void and left. In the end, it was said that he came to Three Immortal Island. I want to know how he left this world. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Gu Bairan suddenly raised his head with a look of surprise in his eyes. "How did you know?" "Naturally, I learned it from the Wudong sect. You just have to tell me how Taoist Sanfeng left this world. This is actually not a big secret. Many people in Three Immortal Island know about it." Gu Bairan took a deep breath. Back then, Taoist Sanfeng was able to leave this world because there was an ancient starry sky road. As long as it was opened, he could leave and no longer be suppressed by the power of the rules of this world. It's just that the ancient starry sky road has a power that transcends this world. Otherwise, do you think I would stay in the human celestial stage and not choose to pursue a higher stage? A power that transcends this world? What does it mean? Is it the Earth's celestial stage or higher? Li Changsheng furrowed his brows. Gu Bairan was already at the peak of the profound finger stage, half a step into the Earth's celestial stage. If he hadn't met him, he would have been invincible in this world. But now, he said that he didn't dare to go to the ancient starry sky road. His power was definitely above the Earth celestial stage. It should be the Earth celestial stage. Above the Earth celestial stage, not to mention this world, even among the thousands of races in the starry sky, they're considered super powerhouses. That's good. Li Changsheng breathed a sigh of relief. With his current strength, he might be able to fight against an Earth celestial stage powerhouse. However, Gu Bairan was extremely surprised when he saw Li Changsheng's expression. When he heard that there were earthly immortal realm experts holding down the fort, he was in extreme despair at that time. But why did Li Changsheng seem to have heaved a sigh of relief? Where's the ancient starry sky road? Li Changsheng's voice was faintly excited. After living for countless years, he could finally see a higher scenery in this life. In the depths of the sea, in a land of the fallen immortals, Gu Byron slowly spat out a few words. 300,000 miles to the west, there's a forbidden area called the Land of the Fallen Immortals. It is guarded by a power that transcends this world. Back then, Taoist Sanfeng stepped on the ancient starry sky road and left this world. But don't blame me for not reminding you that Taoist Sanfeng didn't defeat that existence. Instead, he made some kind of deal with that existence, and that existence let him go. Before that, many powerhouses tried to leave this world, but in the end, they were all killed mercilessly. You will understand the terror of that existence when you see it for yourself. Okay, I understand. Li Changsheng's aura gradually dissipated. Before stepping on the ancient starry sky road, I will stay on this small island for a month. Within a month, you will help me destroy the 2 islands of Ing State and Fangzhong and send the treasures you get to me. You should thank me. From now on, there will be no more 3 immortal islands in the boundless sea. Only Penglai Island will reign supreme. Li Changsheng finished speaking. Gu Byron lowered his head and fell into silence. Indeed, the 3 immortal islands were allies, but in fact, they also kept each other in check. The masters of the 2 islands had died at the hands of Li Changsheng. In the future, whether Li Changsheng defeated that existence and left on the ancient starry sky road or died there, Gu Byron had the final say in this world. Okay, the myriad treasure meet will continue. After Li Changsheng finished speaking, he landed from the sky and turned to walk into a palace not far away. This palace was the residence of the organizer of the myriad treasure meet. It was used to entertain Guo Shun and Su Yao. Now that the 2 were killed and Li Changsheng occupied it, naturally, no one dared to raise any objections. Li Changsheng entered the palace and began to cultivate in seclusion. Yellow Ox and the giant bone snake king waited outside, while Gu Byron left with the people of Penglai Island. Although Li Changsheng allowed them to continue the myriad treasure meet, after today's battle, no one was in the mood to do business. With the battle between Li Changsheng and Gu Byron, Li Changsheng's status as the most powerful person in the world had been completely established. From now on, whether it was on land or sea, Li Changsheng's name would resound like thunder. Later, as Li Changsheng's various battle achievements spread, Li Changsheng was also given many titles, such as the most powerful person in the world, the invincible god of war, and the patriarch of the Green Gate. In the end, among the various titles, there was one that was respected the most, and that was the legend of the age. Chapter 817. It had been half a month since the end of the myriad treasure meet. During this time, Li Changsheng had been in seclusion and did not show up. In front of the palace, the giant bone snake king stood there expressionlessly. In front of him was a group of people with extraordinary auras. These people were the representatives of various forces at sea. They had come to visit Li Changsheng. Now that Li Changsheng was famous, many people wanted to curry favor with him. Lord Snake King, may I know when Mr. Li will come out of seclusion, so that we can meet Tian Yen? I don't know about that either. The giant bone snake king said coldly. These were all big shots who dominated the sea. But the giant bone snake king did not give them any face at all. However, no one was angry. The Grand Chancellor was a 7th grade official, not to mention a godlike figure like Li Changsheng. My master likes spirit stones and Dharma treasures the most. You can leave the spirit stones here. When my master comes out of seclusion, I will report to him. Also, leave behind your visiting cards and write your name so that I don't get confused. After the giant bone snake king finished speaking, many people looked at the pile of invitations in front of the main hall. There were 3 sacks of invitations. Someone had secretly calculated that during the period when Li Changsheng was in seclusion, the number of gifts and spirit stones that people sent to him was more than 1 million. All right. After hearing the giant bone snake king's words, The visitors could only leave the spirit stones behind and leave reluctantly. Rumor had it that Li Changsheng was extremely cruel. Even the Ing State Abbot Island and the Abbot Island were destroyed under his orders. These people were afraid that Li Changsheng would destroy their sects in order to amass wealth. This was equivalent to paying protection fees. Giant Bone Snake King, is Mr. Li still not out of seclusion? Another voice sounded. It was the only person who dared to not address the Giant Bone Snake King respectfully. Gu Bairan, who was dressed in white, walked over. A few days ago, he had merged the Ing State Abbot Island and the Abbot Island. Now, the three Immortal Island belonged to him alone. In accordance with Li Changsheng's wishes before he went into seclusion, he had sent the spirit stones and treasures that he had plundered from the two islands. However, he had not had the chance to see Li Changsheng. Not yet. Master Gu, why don't you wait a little longer? No matter how cold and arrogant the Giant Bone Snake King was, it immediately became much more courteous in front of a human immortal like Gu Bairan. All right. Just as Gu Bairan was about to turn around and leave, the door to the house suddenly opened and Li Changsheng walked out. Master Gu, please come in and take a seat. All right. Gu Bairan hurriedly walked into the main hall. Giant Bone Snake King, Yellow Ox, you two come in as well. The rest of you can disperse. I won't be seeing any guests for the time being. Upon hearing Li Changsheng's words, the leaders of the various forces who originally wanted to get closer to Li Changsheng had no choice but to turn and leave. Inside the main hall, Li Changsheng sat on a main seat, while Gu Bairan and the Giant Bone Snake King stood on either side of him, not daring to take a seat. Master Gu, I heard that there is a formation outside the land of the fallen immortals. It's hard to find them. Why don't you come with me? Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Gu Bairan did not dare to disobey. He hurriedly nodded and said, since Mr. Li has spoken, I will not refuse. All right. After saying that, Li Changsheng nodded and looked at the Giant Bone Snake King and said, Yellow Ox, Giant Bone, take Yellow Ox back to the Green Sect. Help me take care of the Green Sect's affairs. I will be back soon. All right. The Giant Bone Snake King nodded. However, Gu Bairan could not help but shake his head slightly. Come back. How could it be that easy? No matter if Li Changsheng came back alive or not, it would be impossible for him to come back to this world. Of course, he would not say anything that would spoil the mood at this moment. Outside the main hall, the mountain of spiritual stones and the visiting cards for various forces disappeared into thin air. Then, Li Changsheng and Gu Bairan walked out the door. The Giant Bone Snake King and Yellow Ox said goodbye to Li Changsheng and returned to the Green Sect. Meanwhile, Li Changsheng brought Gu Bairan to the legendary land of the fallen immortals. The owner of the house, who had been serving Li Changsheng like a lord, finally let out a long sigh of relief. Li Changsheng was a star of misfortune. Even if such a person was usually kind and amiable, he was like a wild beast. Who knew when he would get angry? Who knew if he would tear you into pieces? 2 days later, on a big ship, Li Changsheng was lying in a rocking chair on the deck and basking in the sun. Gu Bairan stood at the bow of the ship with his hands behind his back. He looked at the sparkling sea that stretched as far as the eye could see. This spiritual tool ship was close to 100 meters long and dozens of meters wide. It was definitely a huge object. It was the largest spiritual tool ship that the Penglai Island had ever built. It had already reached the level of a high-grade spiritual tool. Not to mention other things, just the defensive power of this ship was extremely terrifying. It could smash any demonic beast below the Vajra realm into pieces. This kind of ship could accommodate a few thousand people at a time. It was equipped with all kinds of facilities. Compared to this ship, Li Changsheng's spiritual tool ship couldn't be more shabby. Sir, this sea region is called the Lying Flood Dragon Island. It is the territory of the Black Flood Dragon race. It is an extremely dangerous place in the sea region. Even those famous rogue cultivators have to be careful when they pass by this place. The Black Flood Dragon race is brutal by nature. It is very easy for them to rob you in their territory. Furthermore, they don't care about professional ethics. They even kill people after robbing them. Is that so? Li Changsheng squinted his eyes and said, Then we have been in this territory for a few hours. I haven't seen the Black Flood Dragon race blocking our way to rob us. Hearing Li Changxing's question, Gu Byron couldn't help but reveal a complacent expression. My Penglai Island's spiritual tool ship is traveling. Which force in the sea is so blind that they dare to rob us? Speaking of this, his expression suddenly became gloomy. So what if he was powerful? He was still driving the ship for others like a henchman. Gu Byron suddenly fell into silence. The spiritual tool ship was still traveling at high speed on the sea. Soon, they left the territory of the Black Flood Dragon race. The land of the fallen immortals was deep in the sea. According to Gu Byron, there were countless arrays that concealed its aura. If someone didn't know the location, even if they were right in front of it, they definitely wouldn't be able to find its exact location. This was also the reason why Li Changsheng asked Gu Byron to come with him. It was extremely difficult to find a place in the sea. Moreover, the land of the fallen immortals was hidden deep in the sea. Without a guide, even Li Changsheng would have a hard time finding it. The sea was too big. Even with the spiritual tool ship, they still hadn't arrived after 3 days of traveling. In the land of the fallen immortals, other than the power that you said is beyond this world, what else is there? Along the way, Li Changsheng asked Gu Byron about the land of the fallen immortals in detail. I have never been to the land of the fallen immortals. However, according to the records left by the ancestors of Penglai Island, there are many heavenly slaves other than the chosen ones who guard the ancient Star Road. We're heavenly slaves. Li Changsheng was immediately interested. It is said that heavenly slaves are challengers who tried to leave this world in the past. However, they were not strong enough and lost to the chosen ones. In the end, they were refined into puppets for the chosen ones to use. While the two were talking, waves suddenly surged in front of them. A group of people rode on the waves. The leader was a general in black armor. He held a long sword in his hand and blocked the way. Chapter 8:18. Who are you guys? Gu Byron looked ahead and asked with a gloomy face. He had just said that no one would dare to rob Penglai Island's spiritual artifact ship, but now they were stopped not long after. This was a slap to his face. After being defeated by Li Changsheng, he had lost face in front of Li Changsheng. The other party's appearance made him furious. I am the leader of the dragon whale race, Long Cohen. Are you guys going to the temple to try your luck? The black-faced man asked in a muffled voice. Gu Byron was confused when he heard the other party's name. He knew about the dragon whale race. It was an ancient beast bloodline. Although it was not as powerful as the Kuei cow or the white flood dragon, it was still an overlord in the sea. Especially the dragon whale, its body was very big, and every one of its clansmen had divine power. But what was this guy trying to do by stopping him? If the other party wanted to rob him, then Gu Byron would naturally not hesitate to slap these guys to death. But it was obvious that the other party did not seem to be robbing him. Why are you stopping our ship? Gu Byron asked impatiently. He felt that this man was stupid. According to the ancient legends of my clan, there is a deity living in the land of the divine temple. However, I recently encountered a problem in my cultivation, so I wanted to pay a visit to the deity and ask for his guidance. However, I have found this place, but no matter how hard I try, I can't find the palace where the deity lives. Seeing your spiritual chi ship coming from this direction, I would like to ask, are you also looking for the divine temple? What if we are? What if we aren't? Gu Byron asked again. If we are, I want to ask you to take me to see the god. If we aren't, then pretend I didn't ask. The man stood on the sea. All the turbulent waves became quiet under his feet. He was quite strong. He had reached the Vajra realm. Where is the temple? Li Changxing looked at Gu Byron. The temple is the land of the fallen immortals. The monster race calls it the temple. It's just that the name is different. This man has the same goal as me. Seeing that Gu Byron was about to drive the man away, Li Changsheng suddenly waved his hand. Let them come up. Since we have the same goal, let's go together. All right. Gu Byron didn't dare to disobey Li Changsheng's orders and let him board the ship. Are you really going to meet the gods? According to the records of my ancestors, gods live in palaces in the deep sea and possess remarkable abilities. The strong man mentioned the records of his ancestors several times, which made Li Changsheng interested. What else did your ancestors record? Li Changsheng wanted to know more about the land of the fallen immortals. My ancestor recorded the specific location of the divine palace. My ancestor had once met a deity. In the end, he received guidance from the deity, and only then did our dragon whale clan flourish. The brawny man said mysteriously. Really? This time, not only Li Changsheng, but even Gu Byron's face showed some interest. Penglai Island's records about the land of the fallen immortals came from the third island master, so they didn't know much about the land of the fallen immortals. However, this brawny man's ancestor had received guidance from a being in the land of the fallen immortals. This was not simple. My ancestor left behind a map. According to the map, we can go directly to the depths of the divine palace. However, I have walked around for a long time, and I still can't find the entrance of the divine palace marked on the map. The brawny man took out a sheepskin scroll mysteriously. There were many complicated formations drawn on it. Li Changsheng looked at Gu Byron, who was next to him. All his knowledge about the divine palace came from Gu Byron's words. He didn't know if the map on the sheepskin scroll was the location of the divine palace. Gu Byron nodded slightly and said to Li Changsheng with his divine consciousness, the map on a sheepskin scroll should be the location of the divine palace. The reason why he couldn't find the entrance of the divine palace is because of the formation outside. If we break the formation outside and follow the map, we can really go directly to the depths of the divine palace. So that's how it is. Hearing Gu Byron's words, Li Changsheng smiled and said to Long Kun, if you can't find the entrance, we can help you find it. As he said that, he nodded slightly to Gu Byron. Gu Byron immediately understood Li Changsheng's meaning and steered the spirit artifact ship forward. In front of them, there was a mountain that was exposed to the sea. Gu Byron's spirit artifact ship directly crashed into the mountain. Long Kun was shocked and said, friend, are you crazy? Even if your ship is very sturdy, the mountain is rooted in the sea. Who knows how big it is? You can easily destroy the ship and kill all of us. With regards to the brawny man's scream, Gu Byron was indifferent and watched as the spirit artifact ship crashed into the mountain. However, just as the brawny man covered his eyes and screamed in fear, he didn't feel the impact of the collision. When he opened his eyes, he saw that he was above the sea with clouds and mist. This seems to be similar to the entrance drawn on the sheepskin scroll, the brawny man said in surprise. However, Gu Byron only smiled and steered the spirit artifact ship forward. Although he already knew about the legend of the fallen immortal land, it was his first time here. Originally, he thought that it would take a lot of effort to find the entrance. However, with the sheepskin scroll, it was equivalent to having navigation. Everything was easy. The spirit artifact ship went straight in. Along the way, according to the instructions on the sheepskin scroll, they avoided almost all of the intercepting arrays. Long Kun, it seems like your ancestor is really powerful. He can remember the arrays so clearly. Could it be that your ancestor is a master of arrays? Gu Byron said in surprise. He thought that Long Kun was a simple-minded person, but he didn't expect his ancestor to be so powerful. I'm not too sure about this either. Long Kun scratched his head. After passing through countless arrays, the spirit artifact ship finally arrived at the edge of an island. According to the records of my Penglai Island's ancestors, the fallen immortal land is located in the depths of the sea. Why would there be an island here? It seems that there are only islands at the edge of the fallen immortal land. Could it be that we're in the wrong place? While Gu Byron was confused, the void in front of them suddenly moved. Then, numerous figures appeared on the island. They stepped on the air and surrounded the spirit artifact ship. Who are you? Gu Byron finally realized that something was wrong. He asked in a deep voice, we are the Chosen One's servants. Long Kun, who had been acting simple-minded along the way, suddenly changed into a different person. He had a cold smile on his face. The Chosen One's servants? Are you heavenly slaves? Gu Byron's expression changed suddenly. We heavenly slaves are ordered by the Chosen One to guard the God Palace. You two are the only people who have come to find the God Palace in 100 years. The Chosen One said that anyone who knows the location of the God Palace will be killed without mercy. Long Kuin said with an indifferent expression, "You are not the leader of the Dragon Whale clan. You are the ancestor of the Dragon Whale clan who came to the fallen immortal land a few hundred years ago. Am I right?" Gu Byron thought of something and stared at Long Kuin. "You guessed right." Long Kuin stepped on the spirit artifact ship and flew forward quickly. In the end, he stood in a row with the other figures. Chapter 819. We came to the land of the fallen immortals because we want to figure out something. We don't mean to offend you. Gu Byron said politely. These heavenly slaves had reached the peak of the profound finger realm and had the potential to become earth immortals. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come to the land of the fallen immortals and become the servants of the Chosen One. No matter why you came, according to the Chosen One's order, you know the exact location of the land of the fallen immortals. Therefore, you must die. Long Kuin sneered. It was said that those who failed would be turned into puppets by the Chosen One and become his servants. However, it seemed that Long Kuin was still sane and not a puppet. "So you have to kill us?" Gu Byron's face turned gloomy. Although he had lost to Li Changsheng, he was once the supreme master of the sea. As a human immortal, he was powerful and not just anyone could provoke him. "That's right." Long Kuin nodded. "Aren't you looking down on the two of us too much? Do you think you can keep the two of us here?" Gu Byron was secretly accumulating energy and was ready to fight. "We don't underestimate anyone who comes to the land of the fallen immortals. However, they all became the servants of the Chosen One in the end. However, the Chosen One said that he already has enough servants. Therefore, he could just kill them and throw them into the sea." After Long Kuin finished his words, the surface of the sea rolled and several figures appeared. There were more than 30 of them. More than 30 peak profound finger realm cultivators. This was a terrifying lineup. This time, even Gu Byron's face turned ugly. He didn't expect there to be so many people who had the potential to become Earth immortals. "Do you still think we can't stop you?" Long Kuin's eyes were filled with sarcasm. "Leader Long, I've been bored in the land of the fallen immortals for hundreds of years. Why don't you let me do some exercise?" A burly old man with disheveled hair stood out. The aura on his body gave off a violent feeling. Streaks of lightning could be seen spreading across his body. "It's the patriarch of the Kuei Cao clan." Gu Byron was surprised. Even Li Changsheng was surprised. He hadn't expected to meet an ancestor of the Kuei Cao clan after he had just killed one of them. However, this old man was much stronger than Lei Xiao. The Kuei Cao clan was born with the ability to control lightning. This patriarch of the Kuei Cao clan was even more terrifying. Just the aura he was exuding was enough to make Gu Byron feel uncertain. Although Gu Byron was only a half-step Earth immortal, the old man's cultivation was not weak either. After all, those who were able to find the fallen immortal land had a high chance of entering the Earth immortal stage. It could be said that any one of the people here was not weaker than Gu Byron. Just as Gu Byron was hesitating, Li Changsheng stretched, then stood up and said to Gu Byron, "You can go back, let me deal with him." Li Changsheng stood out, and the gazes of the heavenly slaves immediately gathered on him. "Come, let me see if the peak of the finger profound realm that once appeared on Earth can withstand a slap from me," Li Changsheng said indifferently. However, all the heavenly slaves were instantly enraged. "You're courting death." The hair of the patriarch of the Kuei Cao clan danced in the wind. A lightning chain formed in his hand and rushed towards Li Changsheng. It was the same move that Lei Xiao had used, but its power was countless times stronger. The power of lightning. That's all there is to it. Li Changsheng slapped out. The chain was smashed into pieces, and a lightning fire attack was broken by him. The faces of the heavenly slaves changed. The Kuei Cao clan was already powerful. The patriarch of the Kuei Cao clan had reached the peak of the Earth immortal stage. Even among the heavenly slaves, he was one of the strongest. Li Changsheng easily broke the patriarch's attack, which surprised everyone. Dragon Ancestor, help him. Long Kuan was obviously the leader of this group. As soon as he finished speaking, another old man in a white robe stood out. Behind him, a white Jiao dragon let out a furious roar. The white Jiao dragon actually had 8 claws. As long as it could reach 9 claws, it would be able to sublimate and transform into another life form. However, Li Changsheng was not surprised by the level of the dragon behind him, but by the other party's identity. He was the patriarch of the White Dragon clan. This was what it meant to be enemies on a narrow road. This was what it meant to be ill-fated. The White Dragon clan was almost completely annihilated by Li Changsheng. It was fate that they met here. The dragon ancestor obviously did not know that his disciples and grand-disciples were almost wiped out by Li Changsheng. However, as soon as he stood out, he attacked together with Lei Hua. A blue light and a white light attacked Li Changsheng respectively. The blue light was a lightning bolt that came out of a water bucket. It carried a destructive aura, while the white light was a waterfall that was filled with sharpness. The two of them attacked with all their might, and they both had the bloodline of divine beasts. In an instant, the space around Li Changsheng was sealed, and he was in a desperate situation. Gu Bairan, who was at the side, could not remain calm. Whether it was Lei Hua or the dragon ancestor, both of them were stronger than him. When the two of them attacked together, it could be said that it was the strongest attack in the world. Even though he admired Li Changsheng's strength, he could not help but feel nervous. Facing the attacks of the two, Li Changsheng stood there without moving. It was as if he had already accepted his fate. Long Kuan's face revealed a cold smile. Who asked you to be unlucky? The heavens chosen one no longer accepts slaves. Otherwise, you would have become one of the heavenly slaves like us. This is fate. In his opinion, under such an attack, Li Changsheng would not be able to survive. However, in the next second, his face revealed a look of shock. When the two attacks neared Li Changsheng's body, Li Changsheng made a circle with his hands and formed a yin-yang symbol. Then, the two attacks instantly moved according to his hand gesture and returned to where they came from. Lei Hua and the dragon ancestor did not even have time to react before they were hit by their own attacks. They were sent flying in 2 different directions. On the other hand, Li Changsheng was dressed in green. He stood with his hands behind his back. There was not a single injury on his body. All the heavenly slaves present had expressions of disbelief on their faces. Lei Hua and the Flood Dragon ancestor had joined forces, but they were actually sent flying by Li Changsheng just like that. One had to know that the two of them were experts who were even more powerful than Gu Bairan, the pinnacle of the world's martial way. Could it be that he has already stepped into the earth immortal realm? The expressions of the heavenly slaves kept changing. Earth immortal? Everyone was hesitant when they thought of this possibility. Which cultivator did not wish to attain an immortal body and live for 10,000 years? Although they were made into puppets and became heavenly slaves, the earth immortal realm was once the realm that they desired. This world did not allow the existence of earth immortal realm experts. If he could break through to the earth immortal realm in this world, he wouldn't need to come to the ancient path of the stars in the God Palace. Long Kuan analyzed. At this moment, Li Changsheng had already stepped into the air. He held the fiery dragon spear in his hand and locked onto everyone's position. That's the inherited treasure of my white water dragon clan. When the dragon ancestor saw the fiery dragon spear, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The white water dragon clan's divine weapon appeared in someone else's hands. He knew that it must have been Li Changsheng who had snatched it. In the process, who knew how many disciples of the White Water Dragon clan he had killed. Chapter 820. This person is terrifying. Lei Hua and Ancestor Flood Dragon are no match for him. After Long Kuan spoke, 2 more heavenly slaves joined in. From their point of view, Li Changsheng couldn't be an earth immortal. No matter how strong he was, there should be a limit. The 4 martial artists rushed forward together. Ancestor Flood Dragon was even crazier, and his killing intent surged. "Get back!" Li Chongqing shouted. The ardent dragon spear in his hand turned into a shadow and scattered a golden light. Wherever it passed, Ancestor Flood Dragon and the other two heavenly slaves were swept away, especially the two heavenly slaves who joined later. They were slightly weaker than Lei Hua and Ancestor Flood Dragon. Their heads exploded under the spear. Lei Hua and Ancestor Flood Dragon weren't any better. Their chests caved in, and they kept vomiting blood. "I don't know how the Chosen One allowed you to live until now with your consciousness after being refined into puppets. But after meeting me, your lives have come to an end." Li Chongsheng held the ardent dragon spear and stood in the air, looking majestic. He originally thought that after being refined into puppets, they would lose their consciousness. But now, other than obeying the orders of the Chosen One, they were no different from ordinary people. Their lifespan had obviously increased by many times. On the path of cultivation, one could seek immortality. This might be a way to immortality. Kill him. This time, even Long Kuan couldn't stay calm. Li Chongqing's power was beyond his imagination, and there was anger in his eyes. As the leader of the heavenly slaves, the Chosen One allowed him to lead these people. Every one of them was nurtured by the Chosen One with great effort. Now that two of them were dead and the other two were crippled, how was he going to answer to the Chosen One? He would definitely be severely punished. "Let me do it." "Me too." This time, 10 silhouettes stood out in a row. Moreover, they formed a joint attack formation and charged towards Li Chongsheng. Encirclement formation. As the few of them rushed forward, a golden net was formed in the sky. Every strand of the net contained a powerful sharpness that cut through space and enveloped Li Chongsheng in one fell swoop. To force us heavenly slaves to use the encirclement formation, you could be called the first person in 2,000 years. A cold smile appeared on Long Kuan's face. 10 peak finger profound realm experts, in addition to the joint attack, their combined strength was actually already close to the Earth immortal realm. In the next second, Li Chongsheng raised his ardent dragon spear and thrust it into the sky. Rumble. Boundless heaven and earth yuan qi surged. The golden spear shadow and the net collided, creating a huge roar. Under the attack of the golden spear, the strings of the net began to break. Finally, a hole was blasted open, and the entire net was torn apart. How is this possible? Long Kuan and the other heavenly slaves were all dumbfounded. 10-finger profound realm experts at the peak of the finger profound realm used a combined attack formation to unleash the strongest attack, but it was actually broken by Li Chongsheng just like that. One had to know that this was an attack close to the Earth immortal realm. As long as one wasn't at the Earth immortal realm, one shouldn't be able to break it. Could he really be an Earth celestial stage powerhouse? Long Kuan's voice trembled. Die! Li Chongqing's gaze was cold. The spear in his hand swept out again. The golden spear's shadow scattered, like a bright sun. First, one of the heavenly slaves was hit and was split into two. Fresh blood splattered all over the ground. Everyone was shocked. Li Chongsheng was too terrifying. Under his attack, these people who were once the strongest in the world couldn't resist at all. After Li Chongsheng killed one of them, the remaining 9 heavenly slaves started to hesitate. Although they had already become puppets, they still didn't want to die. "Let's attack together," Long Kuan ordered. He knew that he couldn't continue like this. If this continued, he would only exhaust his strength and be defeated by Li Chongsheng one by one. Rumble. The remaining 20 over finger profound realm experts attacked at the same time. All kinds of spells filled the entire sky. There were lightning, raging flames, wind blades, and water waves. These people were once the strongest on Earth. They were invincible in the world. With over 30 of them working together, Li Chongqing's head had already turned into a sea of spells. Break! Li Chongsheng didn't have much of a reaction. He raised his spear and struck down. The golden light cut a hole in the void. Everywhere it passed, all the attacks were destroyed. At this moment, Li Chongqing tore a hole in the sea of spells and rushed out. Ever since he obtained the scorching dragon spear, he had been refining it continuously. After a few big battles, it was as though he had completely merged with the scorching dragon spear. At this moment, he was like an ancient god of war. He was invincible. Bang, 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 bang. Countless sounds of vital energy exploding could be heard. This caused the sky to tremble. Li Changxing's body was filled with sharpness. He was able to destroy everything. Terrifying. Even Long Kuan, who was the strongest, felt a chill in his heart. Li Changxing was too terrifying. Under the joint attack of more than 30-finger profound realm cultivators, he was still able to break out of the matrix and display his invincible potential. This made him think of the figure in the Divine Palace. The two of them were equally invincible. Boom, boom, boom. Li Changxing, who rushed out, didn't stop. The spear in his hand swept out continuously, creating holes in the void. The golden light was invincible. Everywhere it passed, everything was turned into dust. Puff, puff. Puff, puff. Over 10 heavenly slaves exploded under the scorching dragon spear. Blood splattered across the sky. In the next second, Li Changxing had already rushed to the top of Long Kuan's head and smashed down with his spear. I'll fight it out with you. Long Kuan had also gone completely crazy. After losing so many heavenly slaves, the existence in the celestial palace would probably kill him. His hair fluttered in the wind as he turned into a huge dragon whale that was over 1,000 meters long. He created huge waves and rushed towards Li Changxing. That terrifying power was like a moving mountain. Seeing Long Kuan rushing over, Gu Byron's face changed drastically. The dragon whale was an ancient mutated beast. It had a huge body. Long Kuan, who had cultivated to the peak of the finger profound realm, was even more terrifying. Just the strength of his physical body was already earth-shattering. Break! Facing the dragon whale that was charging towards him like a mountain, Li Changxing thrust out the scorching dragon spear in his hand. Rumble! Essence chi exploded continuously. Under the powerful impact of the huge dragon whale, the air was pushed out. Huge waves were created on the surface of the sea. All the heavenly slaves were on high alert. For the dragon whale to be able to become their leader, it meant that he was the strongest among them. Hoop! Under the immense pressure, the golden, scorching dragon spear smashed onto the dragon whale's body. The huge dragon whale was instantly sent flying and landed on the surface of the sea. Huge waves were created, and the seawater was surging violently. It was too terrifying. The dragon whale turned back into his human form. His face was filled with shock. When he turned back into his original form, he had already used all his strength. He didn't expect that he wouldn't be able to defeat Li Changxing. Pong pong. Spear shadows danced. Another few heavenly slaves were killed by him. Their blood dyed the sea water red. At the same time, the golden scorching dragon spear turned into a long dragon and pierced towards Long Kuan. He wanted to end his life. Long Kuan's face changed drastically. A token turned into a light wall and tried to block Li Changxing. This was a defensive treasure given to him by the heaven's chosen one. Among all the heavenly slaves, only he, the leader, was qualified to be rewarded. This light wall was powerful and had a strong defense. However, under the attack of the golden, scorching dragon spear, the defense of the light wall was slowly worn down. Bang! Finally, the golden light wall was broken. The token cracked from the middle and fell to the ground. Under the attack of the scorching dragon spear, the dragon whale was in despair. He had used all his trump cards. Facing the spear, he could only wait for death. Chapter 821. You killed a dozen of my heavenly slaves. You're very strong. At this moment, an ethereal voice came from all directions. Heaven's chosen one, I thought you would only come out after I killed all your heavenly slaves. Li Changxing sneered. Suddenly, a transparent figure appeared on the surface of the sea. His face could not be seen clearly, but there was a strong sense of majesty that was descending. The Heaven's Chosen One also called himself the guardian of the ancient road. He guarded the ancient road of stars and didn't allow anyone from Earth to leave. Greetings, Master, Heaven's Chosen One. The remaining heavenly slaves knelt down. These people used to be the strongest on Earth, but now they were willing to be slaves to someone else. Li Changsheng felt sad for them. Young man, you're the strongest finger mystic realm cultivator I've seen since I started guarding the ancient road of stars. Even in the ancient times, you be a top prodigy. The Heaven's Chosen One's voice was faint. It was as if he was talking beside Lin Fan's ear, but it also seemed to be from an endless distance. I'm not a young man. Li Changxing sneered and kept the scorching dragon spear. Long Kuan managed to keep his life. The Heaven's Chosen One was surprised. That's strange. You have more wheel of life than me. How is that possible? There was a tremor in his voice. You're not the only one who survived from the ancient times. Heaven's Chosen One, since you've shown yourself, why don't you show your true form? It's shameful to be so secretive. Li Changxing said calmly. He raised the scorching dragon spear in his hand and pointed it at the Heaven's Chosen One. The surrounding heavenly slaves were stunned. They didn't expect Li Changsheng to be so daring as to point his weapon at the Heaven's Chosen One. In their hearts, the Heaven's Chosen One was a supreme and invincible existence. You're pointing your spear at me. Are you trying to challenge me? Although you're very strong, and even I can't see through you, the 30 heavenly slaves are a good example. If you choose to leave, I'll let you go. You should know that for thousands of years, anyone who chose to break through would either become a heavenly slave or step onto the ancient road of stars. No one has ever left here unscathed. You're the first. The Chosen One's voice was emotionless, more like a robot. However, Li Changsheng and Gu Bairan knew that he was afraid. Otherwise, he wouldn't have compromised. Since I'm here, do you think I'll turn around and leave? Heaven's Chosen One, either you reveal your true form and fight me fair and square, or you open the ancient path of stars and let me leave this world. Hearing Li Changxing's words, the void trembled. The Chosen One was clearly angry. Young man, don't push your luck. I've given you a chance. If you don't cherish it, you'll regret it. I've guarded the ancient star road for thousands of years, and I've seen countless experts. Even Taoist master Sanfeng from 500 years ago didn't dare to show the slightest disrespect to me. Do you think you're more powerful than Zhang, Sanfeng? As soon as he finished speaking, the space around him began to warp. After that, the transparent figure gradually solidified. It was an old man with a head full of white hair. His eyes were very big, and he gave off a very dignified feeling. Since you don't want to give me face, I'll let you know the strength of this guardian. As soon as he finished speaking, he pointed his finger. Instantly, ripples appeared in the air like the surface of a lake that was blown by the wind. A transparent light beam blasted towards Li Changxing's position. It was silent, but everyone could feel the terrifying power of this attack. The Chosen One has made his move. The heavenly slaves were all excited. Many of them had become heavenly slaves thousands of years ago. They had seen the Chosen One make his move a few times. Every time, he easily crushed the enemy. In the hearts of these heavenly slaves, the Chosen One was invincible. This kid killed more than 10 heavenly slaves. He deserves to die. The Chosen One will definitely teach him a lesson that he'll never forget. Long Kuan gritted his teeth and muttered to himself, Chosen One, you should already know my strength. What's the point of testing me like this? Li Changsheng shook his head. Although the Chosen One's attack was terrifying in the eyes of others, in his eyes, the Chosen One didn't even make a move. It was child's play. It's not worth me using my full strength to deal with you. That figure was no longer ethereal, but his face was still filled with arrogance. Although Li Changsheng was strong, the Chosen One had seen all kinds of experts. Hence, he didn't take him seriously. Chosen One, I think you're just a frog at the bottom of a well. Li Changsheng raised his hand and struck out with his spear. That transparent light beam shattered instantly. Boom! A thunderous sound came from the sky. Chosen One, how is it? Do you still think it's not worth me using my full strength? Young man, It seems like you do have some skills. However, this still doesn't change anything. The Chosen One sneered. As soon as he finished speaking, a huge palace gradually appeared behind him. I'm the guardian of the ancient road. This palace is the door to the ancient road. Since you want to break through, let's see if you can break through the palace's attack. The moment the palace appeared, an ancient aura spread out, causing Li Chongqing's eyes to turn serious. The level of this palace was frighteningly high. A treasure of the treasure level. No wonder the Chosen One has guarded the ancient road for thousands of years, and only a few people can break through. It turns out that you have such a treasure to help you. Li Chongqing looked at the golden palace that emerged and clenched the ardent dragon spear in his hand. This golden palace was a space-type magic treasure. Space-type magic treasures had many wonderful uses. It could be said that they were both offensive and defensive. At the same level, space-type magic treasures were more difficult to refine than other types of magic treasures. You underestimate the heavens, Chosen One. I guard the ancient road of the stars. Even without this treasure, you won't be able to break through. However, since I can easily suppress you with this treasure, why would I need to use my other abilities? The Chosen One's voice came faintly. His words were filled with strong confidence. Using the treasure was just to save trouble. Even if Li Chongqing showed very high combat power, he still didn't take Li Chongqing seriously. Chosen One, you overestimate yourself and underestimate me, Li Chongqing. So what if it's a treasure-level treasure? Do you really think you can deal with me? Li Chongqing, I admit that you are very strong. However, you said that my sacred palace can't suppress you. What a joke. When I completely subdue you and refine you into a puppet, you will know how strong I am. Gu Byron said with fear, Mr. Li, you have harmed me. I didn't intend to break through. Now, I'm afraid the Chosen One will see me as your accomplice. When you are refined into a puppet, I won't be able to escape this fate. Although being refined into a puppet might increase one's lifespan, being a slave was not as good as being free and unfettered. Gu Byron was originally the sovereign of the sea. Now that he saw the strength of the Chosen One, he felt helpless. You should thank him for killing a few of my heavenly slaves. There is a vacancy in the heavenly slaves serving me. Otherwise, with your cultivation, you would have died. At least you have a chance to live. The Chosen One said faintly. Chapter 822. Although Gu Byron was the most powerful person on Earth other than Li Chongqing, the Chosen One did not care about him at all. Li Chongqing simply ignored Gu Byron's complaints. Instead, he quietly waited for the palace to unleash its strongest attack. Li Chongqing, I'll give you one last chance, the Chosen One said. However, he was interrupted by Li Chongqing. Cut the crap and attack. I'm going to challenge this ancient road of the stars. Looks like you won't give up until you see the coffin. The Chosen One's voice turned cold. The golden palace shone brightly as it crushed the void and pressed down on Li Chongqing. The heaven's Chosen One stood in the void with a cold smile on his face. Li Chongqing, let's see if you still dare to be so stubborn. The power of this golden palace is terrifying. Even a finger mysterious realm cultivator would be crushed by it. Gu Byron stood on the deck. Although the palace was not aimed at him, he could still feel his heart palpitating. He could imagine that if he was the one facing the palace, he would be crushed into pieces without any resistance. I thought that the guardian of the ancient road of the stars would be at least an Earth celestial realm cultivator. Looks like you're not. Li Chongqing shook his head. From a Chosen One's control of the palace, he could guess that he was much more powerful than Gu Byron. He could even use a bit of the power of an Earth celestial realm cultivator. However, he was definitely not an Earth celestial. Even if I'm not an Earth celestial, you can't stop me. Rumble. As the palace descended, countless amounts of vital energy began to explode. The void continued to shatter, turning into primordial chaos. Tornadoes rose up in all directions, surging violently. It's over. Gu Byron closed his eyes. He did not think that Li Changsheng had any chance of survival under such an attack. Long Kuan and the other heavenly slaves sneered. Death is the only way to go against the Chosen One. Under the Golden Palace, Li Changsheng stood with his spear. He raised his head to look at the majestic Golden Palace and finally lifted the ardent dragon's spear. A golden dragon whizzed out with a dragon's roar and instantly grew to a size of 300 meters. The flood dragon's body looked like it was made of gold. Every strand of its whiskers looked lifelike. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it charged towards the Golden Palace. When the Golden Palace and the Golden Jiao Dragon collided, waves of violent energy spread out in all directions like waves. A deep hole was formed in the sea, creating a vacuum. In the sky, wherever the energy tide passed, it would turn into a chaotic aura. It was as if the end of the world had arrived, and it was going to pierce through the entire world. Boom, boom, boom. The Golden Palace began to shake, and cracks began to appear. The power of the ardent dragon spear in Li Changsheng's hands was simply terrifying to the extreme. How is this possible? Even the Chosen One's voice began to tremble. This was a treasure, his most powerful weapon to guard the ancient road of stars. Now there are cracks on it. On the other side, the leader of the Flood Dragon race, Ancestor Flood Dragon, exclaimed. As one of the ancestors of the Flood Dragon race, he had once wielded the ardent dragon spear. However, he never knew that the ardent dragon spear was so powerful and could unleash such terrifying power. Is that a treasure in your hands too? The Chosen One asked in disbelief. Even I don't know the level of the weapon in my hands. However, this is not important. What is important is the person who controls the weapon. In the hand of a top expert, a rock can cut a star. A blade of grass can destroy the sun and moon. Even if I don't use any weapon, your palace will not be able to hurt me. Li Changsheng said loudly. His voice spread out in all directions. Indeed, he had yet to use his strongest physical strength. Whether it was the ardent dragon spear, the Heart's sword, or the mountain river ruler that he had just obtained, they were not his trump cards. The 9 transformations of the celestial demon was Li Changsheng's foundation. His physical body was stronger than Dharma treasures. The Heaven's Chosen One's expression finally became serious. He naturally knew that the same magic treasure in the hands of different people would have a huge difference in power. However, he was the Heaven's Chosen One and should be the most powerful existence in this world. Yet his magic treasure had been broken by someone else. However, he soon sneered. Li Changsheng, don't try to scare me. I'm afraid that you have already used all your strength to break my palace. What are you going to use to stop me now? However, the Chosen One did not push the Golden Palace again. It was as if he was afraid that this treasure would be destroyed. He took a step forward and his aura suddenly surged. It was as if he had broken through some kind of restraint. At this moment, in Li Changsheng's eyes, the Chosen One had become completely different. He was completely different from before. Li Changsheng, you are the first person to force me to use my full strength since I started guarding the ancient road of stars. The Chosen One's voice was mighty and majestic. I understand now. This world does not allow Earth's celestial stage elites to appear. That's why you have been deliberately suppressing your cultivation level. However, why do you dare to fully release your cultivation level now? Aren't you afraid of the backlash from the power of heaven and earth in this world? Li Changsheng finally knew that the Chosen One was just as he had expected. He was already an Earth's celestial stage elite. However, he had sealed his strength. I'm a guardian of the ancient road of stars, and this is my territory. Naturally, I can control the backlash from heaven for a short period of time. Although this period of time is very short, it is enough to deal with you. The Chosen One sneered. He raised his hand and grabbed in the air. A bow was formed. He pulled the bow and released an arrow. The transparent sword arrow pierced through the sky and instantly reached Li Changsheng's forehead. The power of an earth celestial was the true unity of heaven and man. Every movement could use the essence of heaven and earth. Whoosh! Wherever the sword arrow passed, a black hole appeared in the void. The space shattered, forming a scene like glass shattering. The arrow was extremely fast and powerful. This was the power of an Earth celestial. In the face of such an attack, everyone was shocked. It's terrifying, borrowing the power of heaven and earth. This is the power of heaven. I like to see what's so great about an Earth celestial. Li Changxing's face showed no fear. Instead, his fighting spirit was burning. Although he had always speculated that his combat power was stronger than an ordinary Earth celestial, he had never verified it. Kid, you don't even know that you are about to die. The Chosen One sneered. The peak of the profound finger stage was the top combat power in this world. The Earth's celestial stage was like an immortal. They were on two completely different levels of life. At this moment, Li Changsheng put away the scorching dragon spear. The shadow of a celestial demon was roaring behind him. He raised his fist and punched out. The terrifying fist energy crossed the sky and hit the sword arrow directly. The transparent sword arrow was instantly shattered by the fist energy. The remaining power of the fist energy did not diminish. It passed through layers of space and hit the chest of the Chosen One. How is this possible? The Chosen One's face was filled with disbelief. He hurriedly waved his hands, forming layers of protection in an attempt to block the fist force. However, it was useless. The fist force was like a hot knife through butter. It tore through all his defenses like a hot knife through butter. Finally, the fist energy hit the Chosen One. The Chosen One's figure retreated rapidly in the air, leaving a series of afterimages. It took him a lot of effort to offset the fist energy. However, his eyes were filled with horror. His attack of an Earth celestial stage was not only broken by his opponent, but he also almost could not withstand it. It was too terrifying. However, this was just the beginning. Chapter 823. Li Changsheng was running in the air and closing in quickly. The second punch was about to land. Bang! The Chosen One tried to take Li Changsheng's punch, but he was sent flying. The third punch, the fourth punch, the fifth punch. Li Changsheng's fist intent intertwined in the air. Each punch was a superposition of the previous one. When he threw the 13th punch, the Chosen One finally showed fear in his eyes. He knew that he would not be able to block such a punch. Temple. In a moment of desperation, he blocked the golden palace in the middle, trying to block Li Changxing's punch. Boom! With a loud bang, the golden palace cracked under Li Changxing's punch. It exploded into countless pieces and scattered in all directions. The Chosen One spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing that Li Changsheng was about to throw the 14th punch, he finally looked dispirited and lowered his head. You don't have to do anything. I've lost. You've passed. The Chosen One's face was full of vicissitudes and helplessness. He had guarded this place for so many years. Even Zhang Sanfeng, who was the most amazing 500 years ago, could barely block his attack. But now he was defeated. He could not even be compared to someone who was one level lower. This was a huge blow to him. Even the saints and prodigies of the super sacred grounds could not compare to him in terms of combat power. Li Changxing's fist stopped halfway. The raging wind blew the Chosen One's clothes. Seeing that Li Changsheng had stopped, the Chosen One finally heaved a sigh of relief. If this punch landed, he would definitely die. Since I passed, I'll spare your life. Li Changsheng retracted his fist. By the way, Chosen One, since you're guarding this place, tell me what's going on with the ancient Star Road. Hearing Li Changxing's words, the Chosen One shook his head. Don't ask. I won't tell you. You'll know when you step on the ancient Star Road and leave this world. Okay. Li Changxing nodded and did not ask further. Can I leave with him? Gu Bairan suddenly asked. He was now at the peak of the finger-profound realm and was only one step away from the Earth celestial realm. With his combat strength, it was obviously impossible for him to defeat the Heaven's Chosen One and leave this world. However, according to the records of his ancestors, one of his ancestors had once brought a disciple along with him. That was why he asked, as long as Li Changsheng is willing to take you, you can leave. The Chosen One became dispirited. It was obvious that Li Changsheng had given him a huge blow. Really? Gu Byron's face was filled with ecstasy. He had just casually asked, but he didn't expect that it would actually work. Mr. Li, please take me away from this world. Gu Byron cupped his hands and saluted Li Changsheng. For cultivators, they naturally hope to pursue that supreme realm. Now, he didn't even need to defeat the Chosen One to leave this world. This was simply a great opportunity. Sure, but I can only take you away. You can't follow me. Li Changsheng said faintly. He didn't want to bring an old man with him all the time. Mr. Li, it's already a great kindness to take me away. Gu Byron was a little excited. May I know where the ancient star road is? Li Changsheng looked at the Chosen One beside him. It's in the depths of the sea. Follow me. The Chosen One took a step forward and walked into the sea. He automatically opened a path for them. Li Changsheng and Gu Byron followed him inside and saw a palace below. After passing through the palace, they came to a circular altar at the back. The pattern engraved on the altar was very special. They couldn't tell what was different about it. This is the ancient star road. Li Changsheng asked. Even Gu Byron was frowning. They thought that the ancient star road was a passage to leave this world. Yes, this is a large-scale teleportation array. It can teleport you away from Earth at random, but it requires spirit stones to activate. As soon as he finished speaking, the Chosen One waved his hand and inserted more than 10 spirit stones. Suddenly, the array flashed with brilliance. One could feel the powerful space laws. Li Changsheng knew that the Chosen One wasn't lying to him. If we leave through this teleportation array, how can we return to Earth? Li Changsheng asked. You just need to find the teleportation array to the other world or break the world barrier directly. But it's very dangerous. You will be counterattacked by the power of heaven in this world. Even an Earth celestial will be turned into ashes the moment you break through. Understood. Li Changsheng nodded and stepped onto the altar without hesitation. Gu Byron followed closely. There was a flash of brilliance. Li Changsheng felt dizzy, and then his vision fell into endless darkness. This state lasted for more than 10 minutes. Then, a glaring light shone down. Li Changsheng found that he had arrived in a new world. The green lawn, the warm wind, and the bright sun seemed to be very beautiful. At the same time, what surprised him the most was that the rich spiritual qi made him feel refreshed. It made him feel as if he had returned to ancient times. Just as Li Changsheng was enjoying the new world, he suddenly found that Gu Byron, who had set foot on the ancient Starry Sky Road with him, was not next to him. Could it be that the teleportation array will randomly send people to different places? Just as Li Changsheng was puzzled, he heard footsteps. He turned his head and saw a naked figure walking out of the lake. Ah! A scream pierced the sky. The woman turned into a shadow and disappeared in front of Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng was a little dumbfounded. He didn't expect that his first scene in this world would be such a scene. He muttered, I didn't mean it. Give me your life. A few minutes later, a delicate shout came from the sky. A white figure floated down from the sky. A silver sword light attacked Li Changsheng. Miss, let me explain. Li Changsheng wanted to say something, but the opponent's sword was already at his throat. Helpless, he could only raise his hand and use 2 fingers to clamp the opponent's sword. Then, he snatched the opponent's sword and threw it to the ground. As for the woman who had wanted to kill Li Changsheng to vent her anger just a moment ago, she was completely stunned when she saw this scene. Snatching the sword with his bare hands? This B** star is so powerful. The woman was stunned and didn't attack. Li Changsheng heaved a sigh of relief. Although he didn't do it on purpose, he had seen the woman bathing, so he was a little in the wrong. He chuckled. Miss, why don't we sit down and have a good chat? The woman looked at Li Changsheng's sinister smile and was immediately alarmed. This guy's so powerful. What if I'm... With this thought, her face turned pale. She crushed the jade talisman in her hand and said nervously, Don't come over. I won't be polite if you come over. Miss, I think there's a misunderstanding between us. Li Changsheng had just taken half a step forward when the woman screamed in fright. Who dares to hurt my disciple? At this moment, several voices pierced through the air. A few old women quickly approached. Chapter 8:24. Master, this guy wants to do something to me. Seeing the elders of her sect arrive, the woman immediately cried out. Anyone who didn't know better would think that Li Changsheng had really done something to her. Li Changsheng's face darkened when he heard her description. He thought to himself, this time, I won't be able to clear my name even if I jump into the Yellow River. As expected, the old women's eyes spat fire when they heard the woman's words. How dare you bully a disciple of the Dongluo sect? Die! The 5 old women attacked together. Sword light formed a net in the sky, enveloping Li Changsheng. Clearly, they wanted to capture Li Changsheng alive first, then deal with him slowly. The more I explain, the harder it will be to explain. Why can't I figure it out? Forget it. I'll just slip away. With that thought, Li Changsheng pointed out with his finger, instantly breaking through the old women's blockade. Stepping into the air, he was 100 meters away. With just a few steps, he completely disappeared from their sight. The 5 old women were stunned. Even the beautiful woman was flabbergasted. My master and the 4 elder sword array was actually broken. Furthermore, this fellow's running speed is so fast. Just who is he? Li Changsheng climbed over several mountains in a row before stopping. Looking up, he saw a very tall mountain not far in front of him. It was shrouded in a mortal fog, and there seemed to be an array operating on top of it. I don't know anything about this world. It seems I need to understand what kind of world this is. As Li Changsheng was thinking, a luxurious carriage came over the mountain path. Behind the carriage were many men, carrying poles on their shoulders. They looked like servants. Li Changsheng stood in the middle of the mountain path, blocking the way. The carriage stopped. The curtain was lifted, revealing a dignified middle-aged man. Young man, please step aside. This mountain path is narrow. Don't block our way. The middle-aged man's voice was polite. I want to ask, where are you going? It wasn't easy to run into someone, so Li Changsheng naturally wanted to know more. The middle-aged man was obviously in a hurry. He frowned when he heard Li Changsheng's question. At this moment, a slightly immature face appeared behind the middle-aged man. It was a beautiful girl with an oval face. Father, for him to appear on this mountain path, he must be going to the Cloud Dynasty sect to participate in the examination. Looking at him alone, he must be from a poor family and lost his way here. The middle-aged man nodded repeatedly as the young girl analyzed the situation. Millennia is the smartest. Kid, we're also going to the Cloud Dynasty sect. Seeing that you're quite pitiful, let's get in the car. We'll give you a ride. Li Changsheng knew that the other party had misunderstood his intentions. However, if he sat in the car, he could take the opportunity to inquire about a lot of things, so he nodded. Li Changsheng nodded, and the other party thought that he had acquiesced to his words. Thus, he became even friendlier to Li Changsheng. After all, those who could participate in the Cloud Dynasty sect's assessment must have awakened their spiritual roots. His daughter was about to enter the Cloud Dynasty sect. If he could make more friends, that would be good. The middle-aged man suddenly smiled. After sitting in the carriage, he saw that there were 3 seats. The middle-aged man sat in the center of the innermost seat. Li Changsheng sat across from the young girl. We are from the White Ridge Chen family. I am the head of the Chun family, Chen Hao. This is my daughter, Chun Ling. Greetings, Chun family head. Greetings, little sister Ling. Li Changsheng kept calling her little sister Ling, causing Chun Ling to blush slightly. Seeing this scene, Chen Hao frowned and thought to himself, this guy wouldn't have any ideas about my daughter, right? He regretted inviting Li Changsheng into the carriage. Inside the carriage, Li Changsheng finally learned about the situation of this world under Chun Ling's guidance. This world was called Celestial Capital Star. It was a cultivation planet with a flourishing cultivation civilization. The Cloud Dynasty sect was the largest cultivation sect within a radius of 1,000 miles. Today was the day that the Cloud Dynasty sect would recruit disciples once every 3 years. As long as one had some cultivation spiritual roots, they would come. As for how to determine whether or not one had spiritual roots, they had a crystal ball for testing. In fact, from what Li Changxing heard, spiritual roots were the attributes of a person's body. For example, on Earth, there were water spirit bodies and fire spirit bodies. In this world, they were called spiritual roots. Although the names were different, the meaning was the same. After an unknown period of time, the carriage finally came to a stop. Li Changxing knew that they had arrived at the Cloud Dynasty sect. He lifted the curtain and walked out of the carriage. He saw a very imposing mountain road in front of him. On the road, there were many young figures climbing up step by step. In front of the carriage, there was an old man with a sword. He stood there like a door god and said to the carriage, "The Cloud Dynasty sect tests the disciples' willpower. The first test is that all participants must walk through the 9,900 stone steps. They are not allowed to be escorted by family members." Hearing this, Chen Hao did not seem surprised. He said to his daughter, "Ling Er, father can only accompany you up to this step. You'll have to walk the rest of the road by yourself. If you pass the test, remember to inform father. If you don't pass, then return to the Chun family and continue to be the eldest daughter." "Okay." Chen Ling nodded her head heavily. "Father, don't worry. Ling will not let you down." Then she looked at Li Changxing and said, "Big brother, let's go up together." Li Changxing nodded. Naturally, he had no plans to become a disciple of the Cloud Dynasty sect. However, as the largest sect within 1,000 miles, the Cloud Dynasty sect could help him quickly understand this world. Chen Hao was the head of a noble family, but in the end, he was only an ordinary martial artist. He was not a cultivator, so his knowledge was limited. Li Changxing and Chen Ling walked up the steps together. Only after walking a few dozen steps did Li Changxing discover that there was another mystery to the steps. There were some pressure formations set up. If one had not practiced immortal arts or had not cultivated for a long time, they would feel a great deal of pressure. Many of the youths who were originally with Li Changxing were already sweating profusely. Every step seemed to be very strenuous. On the other hand, Chen Ling Er's delicate body did not seem to be strenuous at all. Li Changxing could not help but look at Chen Ling a few more times. Under the cover of his divine sense, he discovered that Chen Ling Er's body already had true yuan constantly circulating. Water spirit body. Li Changxing's face revealed some surprise. He thought to himself, "No wonder. This water spirit body, even if placed in the ancient times of Earth, would be considered a very excellent body." In addition, Chen Ling comes from a large family. She should have learned some immortal cultivation methods before. Looking around, besides Li Changxing himself, Chen Ling was the most relaxed. She should be able to pass the test. Li Changxing thought so. Chen Ling who was climbing, suddenly found Li Changxing staring at her from the side. She could not help but blush. "Big brother, what are you looking at me for? Why aren't you walking properly? If you don't look at me, how do you know I'm looking at you?" Li Changxing said casually. But Chen Ling could not refute for a moment. She could not help but snort. "You're a glib talker. You're not a good person. I'm ignoring you." Saying this, she suddenly sped up and pulled away from Li Changxing. Li Changxing finally understood why Chen Ling was so relaxed. It turned out that she was holding back. The reason why she walked slowly at the beginning was because she was waiting for him. He could not help but be speechless. Since when did he need a little girl to take care of him? Thinking of this, he could not help but speed up. Chapter 825. Chen Ling who was 5 or 6 steps ahead of Li Changxing, was just about to slow down and wait for Li Changxing to come up when she saw Li Changxing's smiling face. She couldn't help but be shocked, thinking, "He's the same as me," deliberately slowing down. But when we left, Dad clearly whispered to me that Li Changxing's body didn't have any true essence circulating. Suppressing her doubts, Chen Ling continued forward. At the beginning, there were still many people around them, but the further they went, the fewer there were. Li Changxing knew that the stairs alone would eliminate 80% of the people. For the Cloud Dynasty sect, to think of such a method to test disciples, it could be considered very clever. But such a method would very likely cause those who had spiritual roots but hadn't started cultivating to be eliminated by mistake. But Li Changsheng quickly realized that his worries were unnecessary. Along the way, when a few youths with decent spiritual roots were unable to continue forward, disciples wearing cloud-patterned clothing immediately appeared and took them up the mountain. As for those who didn't have spiritual roots and couldn't pass the stairs test, they were directly eliminated. Li Changsheng and Qinling arrived at a large platform at the top of the mountain and saw many youths who had just barely managed to climb up. They were already panting from exhaustion, sitting there sweating profusely. Li Changsheng and Qinling appeared to be very relaxed in the crowd. Standing there, they immediately stood out like cranes among chickens. An old figure suddenly appeared in front of Li Changsheng and Qinling, raising his hand to grab Li Changsheng's wrist. To be able to pass through 9,000 steps with a normal complexion, these are all geniuses, he muttered, his face filled with excitement, but his expression quickly stiffened. How is this possible? I can't find any trace of spiritual roots in your body, nor any true essence. This is impossible. Impossible. The old man repeatedly probed several times, then finally shook his head and released Li Changsheng's wrist, clearly disappointed. But he didn't know that Li Changsheng had long since reached the point of returning to the natural state. How could just anyone casually probe his constitution? Little girl, give me your hand. Let me take a look. The old man then looked at Qinling. Qinling didn't dare to disobey, so she extended her hand. The old man placed his hand on her wrist, and a few seconds later, his face became ecstatic. Supreme-grade water spiritual root. I've found a treasure. Little girl, what's your name? Are you willing to become my disciple? I am the elder of Cloud Dynasty sect. Are you Elder Xiong Yujing? Hearing this, Qinling was pleasantly surprised. She came to the Cloud Dynasty sect to participate in the assessment, so she naturally knew a few of the more well-known figures in the Cloud Dynasty sect. This Xiong Yujing could be said to be the head of the 5 great elders of the Cloud Dynasty sect, second only to the sect master. Yes, it's me. Are you willing to take me as your master? Xiong Yujing asked excitedly. The water spiritual root was a very powerful talent. In the Cloud Dynasty sect, there were only a few people who could match it. If it wasn't for the fact that he was in charge of the test today, once the news of the water spiritual root of Supreme Grade got out, the other elders would probably break their heads to fight for it. At that time, he might not be able to take Qinling as a disciple. Of course I'm willing. Qinling didn't expect to become Xiong Yojing's disciple. She immediately knelt down and cowed out. Good disciple, quickly get up. Just as Qinling got up, she heard the sound of something breaking through the air in the distance. Another 4 figures appeared. I heard that there were 2 little guys who passed through the 9,000 steps without blushing or panting. It's them, right? An old voice came. Yes. Xiong Yujing laughed and said, This girl, Qinling has already taken me as her master. What? When the 4 heard this, their faces darkened. They were half a step late and didn't expect Xiong Yujing to beat them to it. Although they hated it, since Xiong Yujing had already taken Qinling as his disciple, there was no way they could steal a disciple from Xiong Yujing. So they all looked at Li Changsheng. Since Li Changsheng and Qinling passed through the 9,000 steps without blushing or panting, it meant that his talent wasn't bad. Elder Xiong, you took this girl as your disciple, but you can't take this young man as well, right? If that's the case, then I'll have to go to the headmaster and tell him that you can't fill your own pockets just because you're the examiner. Of course not, of course not. Xiong Yujing laughed and said, If any of you want to take this young man as your disciple, then go ahead. I definitely won't fight with you. Hearing Xiong Yojing's words, the elders were a bit surprised because this wasn't Xiong Yojing's temperament. With Xiong Yojing's personality, he was greedy and insatiable. Even if he took an excellent female disciple, if he had another excellent disciple, he wouldn't easily let go. His generosity made the others a bit uncomfortable. Young man, I'll take a look at your constitution. The middle-aged man smiled and grabbed Li Changsheng's wrist. But he quickly frowned and shook his head, glaring at Xiong Yujing. Good Elder Xiong, wait for me here. The others were a bit confused, so they all came up to check Li Changsheng's constitution. In the end, they all shouted that it was impossible. There was no Jin Yuan in his body, and there was nothing special about his spiritual root. You are not qualified to join our Cloud Dynasty sect. Go down the mountain. The last elder stood up and said to Li Changsheng. But Li Changsheng shook his head and said, I'm not going down the mountain. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, the elder suddenly raised his eyebrows. Although you have passed the 9,000 stone steps, your aptitude is too poor. No one is willing to accept you as a disciple. Hearing the other party's words, Li Changsheng just smiled slightly. I didn't say I wanted to join the Cloud Dynasty sect. When these words came out, everyone in the field was stunned. What does this mean? Li Changsheng took a step forward and said loudly, I'm Li Changsheng, and I've come to visit the Cloud Dynasty sect leader. Please show yourself. As soon as his voice fell, it instantly spread throughout the mountain. Everyone in the Cloud Dynasty sect was alarmed. When Li Changsheng spoke, everyone was stunned, especially Chunling, who was even more incredulous. The young man who came with her actually wanted to directly visit the Cloud Dynasty sect leader. What does this guy want to do? The elders next to him were stunned and shook their heads one by one. Our Cloud Dynasty sect leader is not someone who can be seen by anyone. Xiong Yujing snorted and was about to let the disciples of the sect drive Li Changsheng down the mountain. But in the sky above the mountain, the sea of clouds rolled and a white figure appeared. Greetings, sect leader. After the white figure landed, the disciples of the Cloud Dynasty sect, including the 5 elders, all saluted. But the other party's eyes fell on Li Changsheng. Young man, you want to see me? Chapter 826. That's right, I have some things to ask you. Li Changsheng faced the sect master of Cloud Dynasty sect with a calm expression, not showing the slightest bit of restraint. All right, then please follow me. Without saying another word, the sect master began to lead the way. Li Changsheng followed behind him, leaving the scene under the gazes of countless people, walking towards the largest palace of Cloud Dynasty sect. Please. The sect master of Cloud Dynasty sect, Taoist Master Zishan, opened the door of the main hall and gestured for Yishuan to enter. Li Changsheng nodded and stepped into the main hall. Taoist Master Zishan followed closely behind, and the door of the main hall closed automatically. Friend, before you ask me questions, let me ask you a few questions first. Who are you? What is your purpose in coming to my Cloud Dynasty sect? Taoist Master Zishan's face suddenly turned cold as he stared at Li Changsheng. As I said, I came to your Cloud Dynasty sect to ask you a few questions. Li Changsheng said with a faint smile. Haha, a dignified, profound realm expert came to my Cloud Dynasty sect just to ask a few questions. Do you think I will believe you? This made Li Changsheng somewhat surprised. The 5 elders were unable to detect his hidden cultivation, but this Taoist Master Zishan was able to see through it with a single glance. My Cloud Dynasty sect has a magic treasure that can monitor everything. From the moment you stepped into my Cloud Dynasty sect, I have already noticed you. However, the people outside are all disciples of my Cloud Dynasty sect. If I were to interrogate you outside, it would be bad if you were to act out of desperation and hurt my disciples. I originally wanted to test you and lure you to the side, but I didn't expect you to foolishly follow me into this main hall. Now, you're already a turtle in a jar. This main hall is filled with formations. As long as I want to, I can kill you at any time. So you better tell me your true purpose, otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Taoist Master Zishan looked at Li Changsheng with a cold expression. His face was filled with confidence. I already told you, but you didn't believe me. Do you really think that I didn't know your plan when I followed you into the main hall? It's just I don't care about your so-called great array. Li Changsheng pursed his lips. This Taoist Master Zishan was merely at the finger-profound realm. Originally, he thought that he would only encounter Earth immortal experts when he left Earth. But now, it seemed like this world was filled with abundant spiritual energy. Perhaps the number and quality of the cultivators here were a level higher than Earth, but they were not as powerful as he had imagined. Although this formation is powerful, since I lured you here, I naturally have more than one trump card. As soon as Taoist Master Shan finished his words, an ancient-looking mirror appeared above his head, exuding a majestic aura. This is the sect guarding treasure of my Cloud Dynasty sect, the Cloud Pattern Mirror. This is a top-grade spirit weapon. Moreover, this mirror communicates with the formation of my Cloud Dynasty sect. It can release the power of the peak of the Finger Profound Realm. Holding this weapon is equivalent to two Finger Profound Realm experts attacking you. Friend, do you still want to resist this time? Taoist Ishan was very confident. Unexpectedly, Li Changxing's expression did not change at all. The grade of this mirror was indeed not low. Borrowing the power of the mountains and earth veins, its power would not be small. But the person it encountered was Li Changxing, a super expert who was not weaker than an earth immortal expert at the Finger Profound Realm. Seeing Li Changxing's calm expression, Taoist Master Zishan was secretly amazed. He sneered and said, "Friend, it seems like you still haven't given up." He clapped his hands, and two people walked out from the side. They were white-haired old men with terrifying auras. These two are the Grand Elders of my Cloud Dynasty sect. They are both at the Finger Profound Realm. The two of them, together with me and the Cloud Pattern Mirror, are equivalent to four Finger Profound Realm experts. Do you still think you can resist such a lineup? Taoist Master Zishan revealed a proud smile. This was all of his trump cards, and also the strongest force that the Cloud Dynasty sect could use. Don't you want to hear what I'm going to ask you? Are you going to attack me directly? Li Changxing asked. It doesn't matter what the question is because you didn't come with good intentions. Once I take you down and use the soul-searching technique to see your divine court, I will naturally know your purpose in coming to my Cloud Dynasty sect. You don't have to delay any longer. Since you have entered my Cloud Dynasty sect today, don't think that you can leave unscathed. Is that so? Li Changxing suddenly sneered. It seems like you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Taoist Master Zishan's eyes turned cold. He suddenly took a step forward, and a terrifying aura locked onto Li Changxing. At the same time, the other two old men also took out their magic treasures and stared at Li Changxing. They were ready to kill Li Changxing at any time. Sigh. Li Changxing shook his head helplessly. I only wanted to ask a few common questions, but you guys forced me to attack. Why is it so hard for me to be a good person? Kid, you're still putting on an act at this time. I'll give you one last chance. Surrender immediately. Otherwise, if we attack, you will most likely die. Taoist Master Zishan seemed to have seen through Li Changxing's trump card. With such a lineup, unless the opponent was an Earth Immortal expert, he would definitely die. At that time, the Cloud Rune Mirror showed that there was a Finger Profound expert. He was worried that he would have to pay a high price to take him down, but he didn't expect that he would foolishly follow him into the main hall. Everything went too smoothly, so smoothly that he couldn't help but laugh. This guy was just like an idiot. How did he cultivate to the Finger Profound realm? He felt a little regretful that such a person wasn't worthy of him paying such a big price to deal with him. Taoist Master Zishan, how can a person be as stupid as you? Since I dared to come to your Cloud Dynasty sect's main hall, do you really think that I didn't think of your plan? Li Changxing shook his head. What do you mean? Taoist Master Zishan was shocked. Do you have a helper? I don't have a helper, but I alone am enough to destroy your entire Cloud Dynasty sect. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Changxing had already made his move. He raised his fist and punched the air in front of him. He wasn't in a hurry to attack Taoist Master Zishan. Instead, he chose to break the formation first. The formation in my main hall is connected to the earth veins. It's completely natural. You actually try to break it? You're overestimating yourself. Taoist Master Zishan sneered. He didn't stop Li Changsheng's action because, in his opinion, it was impossible for Li Changsheng to break the formation. However, in the next moment, when Li Changsheng's fist was completely out, Taoist Master Zishan's expression instantly froze. Under the mighty fist energy, the entire hall shook. Then, a hole was brutally torn open in the formation before it completely shattered. How is this possible? The other two Grand Elders of the Cloud Dynasty sect were also shocked. How about it? Can we sit down and have good talk now? Li Changsheng smiled faintly. Chapter 827. Oof. You think you're so great just because you broke the formation? Talk after you defeat us. At this moment, Taoist Zishan waved his hand, and the cloud rune mirror turned into a beam of light that shot towards Li Changsheng. You won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Li Changsheng shook his head and slashed out a sword light. Hula! The sword light slashed through the air, and the cloud rune mirror was sliced into two halves and fell from the sky. Taoist Zishan's heart shrunk. This cloud rune mirror was his Cloud Dynasty sect's most precious treasure, and it was destroyed just like that. I'm going to kill you. At this moment, Taoist Zishan had lost his mind. His eyes were filled with madness as he pounced towards Li Changsheng. The other two Grand Elders also made their move. Three-finger profound realm experts were extremely powerful. However, in the next second, Li Changsheng sent out a kick, and Taoist Zishan, who was charging toward him, was kicked a few meters away, crashing into the wall. As for the two Grand Elders, Li Changsheng grabbed them by the neck and lifted them up. The strength of these two Grand Elders was extraordinary, but they were powerless against Li Changsheng. Their eyes turned red, and fear appeared in their eyes. Then they cried out, "Spare us." The two Grand Elders let out a cry of fear. Li Changsheng was simply too terrifying. They did not doubt that Li Changsheng would dare to crush their necks. Li Changsheng loosened his grip and threw the two Grand Elders to the ground. He originally wanted to have a good talk with them, but the other party looked like he was going to be eaten alive. Taoist Zishan struggled to get up from the ground and looked at Li Changsheng with fear. In the next second, he turned around and chose to escape. Want to leave? Do you think it's that easy? Li Changsheng took a step forward and disappeared from the spot. When Li Changsheng reappeared, he had already grabbed Taoist Zishan's neck from behind and pulled him back. Seems like you still have a trump card. Originally, I could allow you to use all your trump cards, but I really don't have the leisure to play with you. Obediently answer my question, otherwise I will flatten the Cloud Dynasty sect today. Li Changsheng's voice carried a bit of coldness. Taoist Zishan couldn't help but shudder. She couldn't win in a fight, nor could she escape. Thus, she had no choice but to submit. What do you want? Go ahead. Taoist Zishan knew that she wouldn't be able to stop Li Changsheng. What does my Cloud Dynasty sect have that catches your eye? Is it a huge sect, an underground spirit vein, or something else that I don't know about in this sect? In his opinion, Li Changsheng was definitely up to no good. I just want to understand the specific situation of this planet and occupy your Cloud Dynasty sect's spirit vein to cultivate for a period of time. Li Changsheng said slowly. When he first came to this world, the first thing he wanted to do was to quickly break through to the Earth Immortal stage. After being reborn 99 times, he finally had a chance to break through. How could he not be excited? And the best place to break through was to find a place where no one would disturb him. It would be best if it was surrounded by spirit veins. The Cloud Dynasty sect was obviously a good choice. It's that simple. This time, Taoist Zishan was stunned. Is there a need for me to lie to you? Li Changsheng laughed in disdain. Taoist Zishan thought that it was true. With Li Changsheng's strength, there was no need for him to hide. However, looking at the broken cloud rune mirror and the broken array, Taoist Zishan couldn't help but reveal a bitter smile. If he knew this would happen, why would he resist? Now, even the sect's treasure was destroyed. He wanted to cry, but had no tears. He really thought too highly of himself. The Sky Capital Star is a cultivation planet. There are countless sects and countries on it. The large ancient countries have a territory of tens of thousands of miles, while the small countries have a territory of thousands of miles. Cultivation sects often receive offerings from the secular dynasties. For example, our Cloud Dynasty sect has a dynasty under its name. As for the large sects, they are worshipped by 3 to 5 countries. For example, the famous 3 holy lands of the sky capital star. Each of them are worshipped by more than 10 ancient countries. After listening to Taoist Zishan's explanation, Li Changsheng suddenly understood. It seemed that the Cloud Dynasty sect was only a small sect. However, the Cloud Dynasty sect also had its glorious days a few thousand years ago. It was worshipped by several ancient countries. Unfortunately, it has declined. Speaking of this, Taoist Zishan couldn't help but sigh. Are there many Earth Immortal Stage powerhouses in this world? This was a question that Li Changsheng was concerned about. Earth Immortal Stage powerhouses are considered super powerhouses. Only sects of rank 6 and above have such powerhouses. What about true immortals? Li Changsheng asked in a deep voice. According to Taoist Zishan's explanation, it was very likely that there were true immortals here. Earth Immortals referred to Earth Immortals. In fact, they were just one level higher than ordinary cultivators and couldn't be called immortals. However, true immortals were different. A true immortal's body could condense a golden core. Even if the physical body was destroyed, the true immortal could still survive. True immortals are the top powerhouses in this world. It has been many years since a true immortal appeared. However, according to rumors, the 3 rank 9 sects in this world may have true immortal powerhouses overseeing them. I understand. Li Changsheng nodded. A sense of crisis arose in his heart. Currently, his combat strength could defeat an Earth Immortal. However, if he encountered a true immortal powerhouse, he could only run for his life. It seems that I need to quickly improve my cultivation base. At this moment, the energy fluctuation in the palace attracted the attention of many sect's disciples. Among them were the 5 elders. Chunlinger followed beside Xiong Yujing, her face full of worry. What do you think is the background of that boy? He actually asked to see the sect leader. There was a battle just now. I'm afraid that boy has been imprisoned by the sect leader. One of the elders said, Of course. He dared to come to our Cloud Imperial sect and behave atrociously. He even foolishly walked into the main hall. Unless he is an Earth Immortal powerhouse, he can only surrender. Will the sect leader kill him? Chunlinger couldn't help but ask. Her face was full of worry. That depends on whether that boy is sensible or not. If he is not sensible, the sect leader would have already turned him into ashes. Xiong Yujing looked at Chunling with a satisfied expression. This disciple was really to his liking. Chunling's eyes dimmed. Master, is it possible that Li Changsheng is a hidden powerhouse who defeated the sect leader? Even the sect leader is no match for him? Haha. This time, before Xiong Yujing could speak, several elders next to him laughed and shook their heads. Little girl, you read too many supernatural novels. How old is he? How could he defeat the sect leader? Moreover, the sect leader is not alone in the main hall. Hearing their words, Chunlinger sighed. She was just saying it casually. She and Li Changsheng walked up the Cloud Imperial sect together. Although it was easy for him to walk up the stairs, how could he be a match for the sect leader? Chapter 828. Just as everyone was discussing, the door to the main hall suddenly opened. Then Taoist Master Zishan and 2 great elders walked out. Greetings, Sect Master. Greetings, Sect Master. Everyone bowed in greeting. But some people were surprised to find that the Sect Master seemed to be injured, and the 2 great elders were also limping. Could it be that they actually used 3-finger profound realm experts to deal with that youth? Looks like that youth is not weak. Soon, the discussion in the hall came to an abrupt end, only to see Li Changsheng walk out from inside, safe and sound. What's going on? Everyone was dumbfounded. Chunling couldn't wrap her head around it for a while. Mr. Li is our Cloud Dynasty sect's honored guest, and the two great elders and I have decided to let Mr. Lee be our Cloud Dynasty sect's guest elder, with the same status as me, the sect master. After the Cloud Dynasty sect master's words, everyone was dumbfounded. What ability does this kid have to be Cloud Dynasty sect's guest elder, and the same status as the sect master? In fact, this was also a request that Taoist Master Zishan made to Li Changsheng. If Li Changsheng borrowed the Cloud Dynasty sect's spirit vein to cultivate, he would have to join the Cloud Dynasty sect as a guest elder. Originally, when he made such a request, even if Li Changsheng didn't agree, he couldn't do anything. But Li Changsheng was a reasonable person, borrowing the Cloud Dynasty sect's territory to cultivate, and being a guest elder didn't require him to pay anything. Instead, he could enjoy the benefits of the Cloud Dynasty sect, so he nodded and agreed. Still not greeting guest elderly? Taoist Master Zishan said coldly. Although everyone had thousands of doubts in their hearts, they didn't dare to go against Taoist Master Zishan's order, so they all cupped their hands and bowed. Greetings, guest elderly. Master, didn't you say that Li Changsheng would lose without a doubt? Chen Ling looked at her master Xiong Yujing. Xiong Yujing laughed dryly. The four great elders beside him also had ugly expressions. At that time, they had all checked Li Changsheng's body and found that he didn't have the talent to cultivate it all. Looks like he met an expert. Only someone who is much stronger than us could make us unable to detect his body's true condition. The elders thought at the same time. After confirming Li Changsheng's status in the Cloud Dynasty sect, Taoist Zishan brought Li Changsheng to a valley. Below this valley is where the spirit vein is. Mr. Li, you can cultivate here in the future. I will send a disciple to serve you. If you have any instructions, you can tell him. All right. Li Changsheng nodded. Walking into the valley, there was an antique wooden hut. Li Changsheng was very satisfied with the environment. Not long after, a young disciple appeared in front of the wooden house. He was the disciple sent by Taoist Zishan to serve Li Changsheng. His name was Bai Chuan. When this delicate-looking youth saw Li Changsheng, his face showed a bit of fear. Currently, Li Changsheng's identity was a hot topic in the Cloud Dynasty sect, but without exception, all of them said that Li Changsheng's strength was not ordinary. Since Sect Master sent you to serve me, you will be considered as one of my people from now on. I don't have anything for you to do here. Just send me 3 meals a day on time. Don't worry, if you follow me, I will not treat you unfairly. From Li Changsheng's point of view, although this youth had a delicate appearance, his talent was very ordinary. If he cultivated at a normal speed, the highest he could reach was the Xiantian realm. It was because of this that he was sent to serve Li Changsheng. If it was a genius disciple like Chen Ling, Taoist Zishan would definitely not be willing to let her be Li Changsheng's servant. Yes, sir. Bai Chuan nodded. After giving instructions to Bai Chuan, Li Changsheng began to cultivate in seclusion. As soon as he entered this world, he felt the true yuan in his body become restless. He could faintly feel that the thunder tribulation would soon descend. The spiritual qi in the spirit vein below the Cloud Dynasty sect was very rich. Li Changsheng sat cross-legged in his room. Dense spiritual qi could be seen lingering around his body. His entire body became different. Outside the room, Bai Chuan could feel the spiritual qi rushing into Li Changsheng's room. Because the spiritual qi was too much, it formed a fog vortex. Bai Chuan was dumbfounded. This guest elderly is so powerful. So much spiritual qi, such a fast absorption speed, it's simply unheard of. Not only him, in the main hall of the Cloud Dynasty sect, Sect Master Taoist Zishan and 2 grand elders were also looking at the direction of the valley. Fortunately, we reconciled with Mr. Li in time. Otherwise, I'm afraid our Cloud Dynasty sect will be trampled by him even if we used all our trump cards. Taoist Zishan was much more powerful than Bai Chuan. She could judge Li Changsheng's strength based on the speed of absorption. He seems to be about to cross the Earth celestial tribulation. Beside her, a grand elder stared at the direction of the valley. Looking at the speed of the spiritual qi gathering, I'm afraid it's true. He's now a guest elder of our Cloud Dynasty sect. That means our Cloud Dynasty sect will have one more ace in the Earth Celestial stage. Taoist Zishan smiled. I'm afraid he doesn't belong to our Cloud Dynasty sect. Even if he breaks through to the Earth Celestial stage, he won't protect our Cloud Dynasty sect. A Grand Elder said worriedly. He joined us halfway. Of course, he doesn't belong to us. But that's not important. What's important is that when he goes through the earthly immortal tribulation, the surrounding sects will sense it. As long as we don't say anything, who knows if he has a sense of belonging to the Cloud Dynasty sect. At that time, Li Changxing alone will be able to make up for the loss of the Cloud Pattern Mirror, even if it's a level 6 or level 7 sect. At this moment, in the wooden house, Li Changxing suddenly opened his eyes. A golden light flashed and disappeared. Just now, he sensed that the lightning tribulation was about to descend at any moment, but it did not. It was as if something was missing. I've used 99 reincarnations to lay a solid foundation. There's no need to rush. Li Changxing suppressed the urge to break through. He stood up and opened the door. The disciple in charge of serving him, Bai Chuan, was waiting respectfully at the door. When he heard the door open, he hurriedly saluted, "Guest elderly. Just call me Mr. Li," Li Changxing said with a smile. When Bai Chuan raised his head, Li Changxing suddenly let out a cry of surprise. "What's the matter? What happened to your face?" It turned out that Bai Chuan's face was blue and purple. "I accidentally fell down when I went outside to pick herbs." Bai Chuan stammered. He avoided eye contact and tugged at the corner of his clothes. "Nonsense. Even if you fell down, you wouldn't fall like this. Tell me the truth." With Li Changxing's eyesight, how could he not see that Bai Chuan was beaten up by someone? Seeing Li Changxing's stern look, Bai Chuan lowered his head. "Tell me," Li Changxing said sternly. "I was beaten up," Bai Chuan whispered. Chapter 829. You were beaten? Because of what? Did you have a grudge with them? Li Changxing asked. There were many grudges and grudges in the sect. It was normal for there to be conflicts between disciples. No. Bai Chuan shook his head. Then why did they beat you? Because I said I'm Mr. Li's man. They beat and kicked me. What? This surprised Li Changxing. What happened? Tell me in detail. It turned out that when Li Changxing said Bai Chuan would follow him in the future, he was his man. This Bai Chuan was just an ordinary disciple in the sect. His status was relatively low. Therefore, when he was outside, he excitedly told others that he was a new guest elder and that he would have a backer in the future. Who knew that his words would be overheard by a disciple passing by? The disciple directly came up to him and beat him up, saying that a foreign guest elder was worthy of his pride and shame. You didn't fight back? Li Changxing was puzzled. As far as he knew, this Bai Chuan was also an inner disciple. His status was not lower than the other party. He entered the sect earlier than me. I couldn't beat him. Moreover, he is Yang Ye's younger brother. How would I dare to provoke him? If I fought back, it wouldn't be as simple as getting beaten up. Who is Yang Ye? Li Changxing furrowed his brows. Although this Bai Chuan had only followed him for a short period of time, he was still his man. Before beating a dog, one has to look at its master. Bai Chuan being beaten up was the same as looking down on him, Li Changxing. Yang Yi is a true disciple of Cloud Dynasty sect. He has an innate fire spiritual root and is one of the most promising candidates to inherit the position of sect master. After Bai Chuan finished speaking, Li Changxing understood. No wonder. How could an inner disciple dare to provoke a true disciple? Daring to beat you? Let's go, I'll help you. Li Changxing pulled Bai Chuan and walked outside. Mr. Li, you can't. It's not worth it for me. Bai Chuan hurriedly persuaded from behind. Li Changxing ignored him. Walking out of the valley, several supreme elders and Taoist Master Zishan were waiting for him. Taoist Zishan had been paying close attention to the happenings in the valley. Once Li Changxing transcended the earthly immortal tribulation, the status of Cloud Dynasty sect within a radius of several tens of thousands of miles would skyrocket. However, the lightning tribulation was clearly about to gather, but it suddenly dispersed. He was very puzzled. Did something happen to Mr. Li during his closed-door cultivation? Just now I sensed the lightning tribulation, but it disappeared. Hearing Reverend Zishan's words, Li Chongqing shook his head. Nothing happened, it's just that it's not the right time yet. Could it be that Mr. Li is afraid that something might go wrong during the lightning tribulation? Taoist Zishan thought that she understood the meaning behind Li Chongqing's words. After all, although the lightning tribulation was an opportunity, and passing it would allow one to reach another realm, it was also a danger. If one failed to pass it, one could lose their life at any time. That's not it. Li Chongqing shook his head. It's just that I feel that my foundation is not solid enough. So that's how it is. Taoist Zishan let out a long sigh of relief. Unknowingly, he began to worry about Li Chongqing. Ever since Li Chongqing agreed to become a guest elder of Cloud Dynasty Sect, his relationship with Cloud Dynasty Sect was closely linked. Mr. Li, where are you going? Taoist Zishan asked. I'm going to take a stroll around. Originally, if he told Taoist Zishan about Baichuan's matter, Taoist Zishan would naturally make the decision. However, Baichuan was one of his own people. There was no need for others to make the decision. Since there's nothing else, then I'm relieved. I'll take my leave first. Taoist Zishan returned to his residence. Under Baichuan's lead, Li Chongqing arrived at the back mountain of Cloud Dynasty Sect. At this moment, Elder Xiong Yujing was giving a lecture. Among the crowd, Li Chongqing saw Qinlinger. Seeing Li Chongqing appear, Xiong Yujing also stood up and greeted Guest Elder Li. Originally, the guest elders and elders of Cloud Dynasty Sect had the same status, but Li Chongqing was different. Sect Master Zishan had clearly stated in front of everyone that Li Chongqing's status was equal to him. Therefore, the 5 elders were one level lower than Li Chongqing. Li Chongqing sat down on the side and didn't disturb Xiong Yujing's lecture. Baichuan pointed at a man in red clothes in the crowd with his head lowered and said, Mr. Li, he's the one who hit me, Yang Wu. Li Chongqing nodded slightly, indicating that he understood. Half an hour later, the lecture ended. Xiong Yujing came over to greet Li Chongqing, then turned and left. Qinlinger also came over, but her tone was clearly a bit reserved. Greetings, guest Elder Li. Just call me Li Chongqing. Li Chongqing smiled faintly. Qinlinger let out a long sigh of relief. At this time, Yang Wu was about to leave with a group of people surrounding him. Li Chongqing signaled to Baichuan next to him. Baichuan immediately understood and walked over to block the way. Yang Wu's face suddenly showed a bit of a sneer. What? Kid, you didn't get beaten up enough just now. You want to be beaten up again? Saying so, he rolled up his sleeves. Baichuan's face showed a bit of fear. At this time, Li Chongqing coldly said, Why don't you try hitting him again? Yang Wu looked at Li Chongqing without any fear. He chuckled and said, I was wondering who it was. So it's the new guest elder. What? You want to make a decision for him? You really think you're a big shot. This is Cloud Dynasty Sect. You're just an outsider. My brother is the chief disciple, Yang Yi. Don't look for trouble. Ha! Ha! Li Chongqing twitched the corner of his mouth, then waved his hand and turned it into a handprint, slapping on Yang Wu's cheek. Yang Wu flew out like a kite with a broken string and hit a nearby pillar. When he fell to the ground, he spat out blood from his mouth. Everyone was stunned by the sudden attack. Xiong Yujing, who had just walked a short distance away, suddenly stopped and turned around with a stunned expression on his face. I don't care who your brother is. Your brother is the king of heaven. You can't touch my Li Chongqing's people. Li Chongqing directly went to the place where Yang Wu fell, grabbed his collar, and pulled him up. He raised his palm and slapped him 12 times on his cheeks. Pa 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 pa. Yang Wu's flesh and blood flew out, and his teeth fell out. His whole head was swollen, and no one could see his human appearance. Kneel in front of Baichuan and kowtow to him to apologize. Li Chongqing let go of Yang Wu's neck. He sat on the ground with a plop, but his eyes were still full of resentment. If you don't kneel, I'll kill you. Li Chongqing stared at Yang Wu, and suddenly a chill spread in Yang Wu's heart. He originally thought that Li Chongqing would absolutely not dare to kill him, but feeling the strong killing intent, he was not sure. Kneel or not? Li Changsheng raised his hand again. Yang Wu's body trembled, and he hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed in the direction of Bai Chuan. Humph! Trash! Li Changsheng raised his foot and kicked Yang Wu to the side. Bai Chuan, if anyone dares to bully you in the future, tell me, and I'll make him pay the price. Li Changsheng's ferocious appearance made everyone in the field gasp. Not far away, Xiong Yujing sighed and shook his head. Chapter 830. Ling I'll take my leave first. You can find me in the valley if you need anything. Li Changsheng smiled at Chen Ling, and left with Bai Chuan. Back in the valley, Bai Chuan bowed deeply to Li Changsheng. His face was filled with gratitude. Mr. Li, thank you for helping me vent my anger. It's nothing. I've said it before. You're my man. By the way, I noticed that your cultivation is a bit low these days. I'll teach you a cultivation method that suits you. After saying that, he tapped on Bai Chuan's forehead. Suddenly, Bai Chuan's body trembled, and his face was filled with excitement. Plop! He knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times to Li Changsheng. I'll remember Mr. Li's grace of rebirth. Although Bai Chuan's aptitude wasn't high, he had been an outer disciple of Cloud Dynasty sect for 3 years. He still had some knowledge. The cultivation method that Li Changsheng taught him was much more profound than the one he cultivated. Get up. As long as you help me, what's the big deal? Li Changsheng said lightly. Indeed, for him, this was just a casual matter. At this moment, a pretty figure appeared in front of the wooden house. It was Chen Ling Ling, why are you here? A slight smile appeared on Li Changsheng's face. Sit inside. No need. Chen Ling frowned slightly, and her face was a bit ugly. What's wrong? Li Changsheng stared at Chen Ling Her expression was a bit strange. You beat up Yang Wu, and he went to his brother to complain. Yang Yu wanted to seek justice for him, and said that he's coming to find trouble with you. So it's about this. Li Changsheng smiled indifferently. If he wants to come, then so be it. I don't even put the sect Master Zishan in my eyes, let alone a true disciple. No, you can't be careless. I heard that Yang Yi has a very powerful magic weapon called the Demon Suppressing Sword. He wants to use it to deal with you. I heard from the disciples in the sect that the magic weapon is very powerful. Demon Suppressing Sword? Li Changsheng looked at Bai Chuan. Chen Ling had just arrived at the Cloud Dynasty sect, so she didn't know much about the Cloud Dynasty sect. But Bai Chuan had been in the Cloud Dynasty sect for 3 years. If many of the disciples knew, then he should know as well. Sure enough, Bai Chuan's face froze. Mister, this time you really can't be careless. This demon-suppressing sword is a super powerful magic weapon that the previous sect master brought back from outside. Although it is not my Cloud Dynasty sect's sect treasure, it is more powerful than the sect treasure cloud pattern mirror. However, it is said that the suppressing devil sword itself is a demonic weapon and has a very strong demonic nature. The previous sect leader was unable to subdue the demonic nature of the suppressing devil sword and entered the demonic path. In the end, he was killed by several Taishang elders and several nearby second-grade sects. Since then, the suppressing devil sword has become a taboo of the Cloud Dynasty sect. It does not belong to anyone. Unless the Cloud Dynasty sect is in a life-and-death situation, no one is allowed to use it. So that's how it is. Li Changsheng recalled the day when he fought with Daoist Zishan in the main hall. In the end, Daoist Zishan ran outside. It seemed like she wanted to take something and fight with Li Changsheng. However, she was restrained by Li Changsheng and didn't have time to use the suppressing devil sword. It's okay. It's not like I don't have powerful magic weapons. Li Changsheng smiled. He now had a Wishful Heart Sword and the Ardent Dragon Spear, these 2 powerful magic weapons. He also had the Mountain and River Ruler, as well as the mysterious seal he obtained from the Zhenwu secret territory. Except for the Wishful Heart Sword, which was relatively low level, the other few magic weapons were more mysterious than the previous one. The ardent dragon spear was needless to say. In the hands of Li Changsheng, it had become a sharp weapon against his enemies. The mountain and river ruler was also a treasure weapon. Seeing Li Changsheng full of confidence, Chun Ling, and Bai Chuan's faces were full of worry. They were not as cheerful as Li Changsheng. At this time, a loud noise came from outside. "Surnamed Li, you dare to injure my little brother. Quickly come out and accept your death." The voice resounded in all directions. Li Changsheng naturally knew that Yang Wu's elder brother, Yang Yi, had come. "Let's go out and have a look." Walking to the entrance of the valley, he saw that there were already many people outside. The leader was a young disciple dressed in purple. He carried a red long sword on his back. His face was as sharp as a knife, and his body was full of murderous aura. Beside him, there were 9 young people with the same extraordinary temperament. In terms of strength, they were a little weaker than him. However, among the younger generation, they were definitely regarded as elites. The top 10 true disciples have actually come. Bai Chuan's face had already turned pale. This Yang Yi is a top-grade innate fire spirit root. He has a very high prestige in the sect. Now that the 9 true disciples have appeared with him, it is also a kind of attitude. No wonder he dared to take the devil-suppressing sword. Even if the sect master blames him, the 9 true disciples will shoulder it with him. He won't be punished too much. Bai Chuan analyzed. "You are Li Changsheng?" Seeing Li Changsheng appear, Yang Yi pointed at Li Changsheng and asked, "I am a guest personally appointed by Taoist Zishan. I am on the same level as the sect master. As a junior, you don't salute me and instead point at me. You really don't know the rules." Li Changsheng coldly snorted. "You are my brother. I want your life. You still dare to talk to me about the rules?" Yang Yi coldly said. "Looks like I have to teach you a lesson." The corners of Li Changsheng's mouth suddenly curled up. "With just you?" Yang Yi's voice had just faded. Li Changsheng raised his palm and waved it out. "Pa!" A crisp sound rang out. A transparent palm print directly hit Yang Yi's cheek. Suddenly, Yang Yi raised his head and fell to the ground from the side. The scene was silent. No one had expected that Li Changsheng would actually make a move without hesitation. Yang Yi was a true disciple of the sect, the next candidate for the sect master of the Cloud Dynasty sect. "I want you to die." Yang Yi quickly got up from the ground. One of his cheeks was already swollen. He raised his hand and pulled out the sword on his back and directly slashed at Li Changsheng. The moment he pulled out the sword, one could see traces of red light spreading from the sword into his body. Bang! However, just as he rushed to Li Changsheng's side, he was kicked away again by Li Changsheng. However, this time, he didn't land on the ground. Instead, he instantly rose from the ground. His entire hair turned purplish red like a raging flame. His eyes turned blood red, and a violent and cruel aura spread out from his body. Not good. He seems to have turned into a demon. Everyone's expression changed. The demon-suppressing sword had a demonic nature, so even the sect master, Taoist Zishan, didn't dare to use it easily. Although Yang Yi was young and had extraordinary strength, he was still lacking. Just now, he was slapped by Li Changsheng and lost his mind. He was instantly affected by the demonic nature. "Die for me." With a long shout, the sword in his hand instantly became hundreds of feet long and slashed in the direction of Li Changsheng. The violent aura alarmed the entire Cloud Dynasty sect. From afar, several figures quickly rushed over. "You're crazy. You dare to steal the suppressing demon sword?" It was the voice of Taoist Zishan. Beside her were 2 grand elders and 5 elders. Unfortunately, they appeared too late. Yang Ye's sword was already slashing towards Li Changsheng's head. The power of the suppressing demon sword actually made the entire mountain tremble. Chapter 831. Once senior brother Yang enters the demonic path, I'm afraid he won't be able to return. These people listened to Yang Ye's words and came together to help Yang Yi deal with Li Changsheng. But now they were all at a loss. Once the demonic nature of the demon-suppressing sword invaded them, they would become a devil that everyone wanted to kill. The fate of the previous Cloud Dynasty sect sovereign was a lesson learned. At this moment, Yang Ye's strength was terrifyingly strong. Not to mention these true disciples, even the Cloud Dynasty sect sovereign, Taoist Master Zishan, felt a burst of fear. The sword light had already descended. Many people couldn't help but turn their heads to the side. In their opinion, under this sword, Li Changsheng wouldn't be able to survive. Chunling, and Bai Chuan's eyes were filled with despair. This sword not only enveloped Li Changsheng, but also the two of them. Under this sword light, their hearts had already sunk to the bottom of the valley. It's over. Taoist Master Zishan had already approached, but it was already too late. However, in the next moment, amidst a loud boom, a beam of golden light clashed with the purple sword light. A spear's shadow blocked all the attacks and soared into the sky, flying directly in Yang Ye's direction. It was Li Changsheng. He actually broke the attack of the demon suppressing sword. Everyone's eyes were looking at the sky. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Holding the demon suppressing sword, Yang Ye's face was filled with astonishment, but then it was replaced by madness. At this moment, his emotions were completely controlled by the demon suppressing sword. Once again, he swung the sword towards Li Changsheng. Break from me! The ardent dragon spear in Li Changsheng's hand released 10,000 rays of light, directly colliding with the demon-suppressing sword. Ah! A mournful scream came from the sky. The Cloud Dynasty sect's disciples below all covered their ears, revealing a painful expression. The scream didn't come from Yang Ye's mouth, but from the demon-suppressing sword. Streaks of red mist condensed into a blurry figure, which suddenly flew into Yang Ye's body. Not good. This time, Yang Ye's body is completely controlled by the thing inside the demon-suppressing sword. Yang Ye has truly entered the demonic path. Taoist Master Zishan exclaimed. Back then, the previous headmaster of the Cloud Dynasty sect was his master. When he fell into the demonic state, a red light entered his body and he completely lost his consciousness. This suppressing devil sword really is suppressing a devil. But so what if it's suppressing a devil? Li Changsheng clenched the ardent dragon spear in his hand and thrust it forward. Rumble! A violent roar resounded through the sky. In the next second, the golden light directly penetrated his body. Yang Ye's body fell from the sky, and the demonic shadow also separated from Yang Ye's body. That devil-suppressing sword actually flew up by itself, releasing 10,000 sword beams that enveloped Li Changsheng. You're courting death. Li Changsheng unfolded the ardent dragon spear in his hand. Golden light shot out in all directions, forming a law domain. The sword light simply couldn't break through his defense. When the sword light weakened, Li Changsheng suddenly rushed towards the devil-suppressing sword and actually grabbed the sword hilt in his hand. No! Taoist Master Zishan and the two supreme elders exclaimed. As long as the devil-suppressing sword came into physical contact with someone, it could affect the sword wielder's mind. The previous headmaster of the Cloud Dynasty sect was already an earth immortal, but he still couldn't suppress it. Sure enough, when Li Changsheng grabbed the devil-suppressing sword, a strange cry sounded in his mind. There was a red light that wanted to rush into his body. You're courting death. Li Changsheng coldly snorted. True martial god slaying chapter activated, condensing into a small golden sword and piercing into the depths of the red light. Ah! That red light let out a shrill cry and wanted to return to the devil-suppressing sword. However, Li Changsheng's hand actually ignited a ball of flame, which instantly surrounded the devil-suppressing sword. It was the netherworld flame that he obtained from Heavenstone Ancestor. That red light collided with the flame and let out a shrill cry. This time, not only did it fail to invade Li Changsheng's body, it also couldn't return to the devil-suppressing sword. Break from me! Li Changsheng waved the ardent dragon spear and pierced into that red light. Pa! A crisp sound rang out. That red light constantly twisted under the ardent dragon spear and finally exploded into a pile of red mist that escaped in all directions. Where do you think you're going? Li Changsheng continued to urge the netherworld flame, condensing it into a fire dragon that wreaked havoc. In an instant, that red mist was burned to ashes by the fire. The devil-suppressing sword's color also turned from red to black, which should be its original color. The devil-suppressing sword was like its name. It was only used to suppress that demon. This sword is not bad. Li Changsheng touched the black sword body, and his heart was filled with fondness. However, when he saw Taoist Master Zishan and the others looking at him with worry in their eyes, Li Changsheng couldn't help but feel awkward. He directly threw the devil-suppressing sword to Taoist Master Zishan. Taoist Master Zishan caught the devil-suppressing sword and hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, Mr. Li." He was really afraid that Li Changsheng would seize his devil-suppressing sword. After all, this was something his master brought back. The existence inside the devil-suppressing sword has been erased by me. You can use this sword without any worries. Consider it my compensation for destroying your Cloud Dynasty sect treasure, the Cloud Pattern Mirror. After Li Changsheng finished speaking, he descended from the sky, feeling a little regretful in his heart. After spending so much effort, he didn't get anything in return. Now that the dust had settled, Taoist Master Zishan kept the devil-suppressing sword and looked at the many disciples standing at the entrance of the valley. Plop, plop. With the 9 disciples taking the lead, the other disciples also knelt on the ground. You guys sure have guts. You actually dared to steal the devil-suppressing sword with Yang Yi. If it wasn't for Guest Elder Li's profound Tao that allowed him to kill that demon, you guys would have caused a huge disaster. You will be punished to kneel in the abstinence hall for a month and reflect on your mistakes. Thank you, Sect Master. The disciples all cowed out. After that, Taoist Master Zishan looked at Yang Yi, who was on the ground. Although Li Changsheng's spear pierced through his body, he didn't die. Yang Yi used the devil-suppressing sword without permission. He deserves to die 10,000 times. However, considering that he has contributed a lot to our Cloud Dynasty sect, I will spare him the death penalty. Take him away for treatment first. Yang Yi was Taoist Master Zishan's disciple, and was also listed as the next sect master of Cloud Dynasty sect. Therefore, although he committed such a huge mistake, it was obvious that Taoist Master Zishan only did it for Li Changsheng to see and didn't really intend to punish Yang Yi. This was also the reason why Yang Yi dared to steal the devil-suppressing sword. He knew that his master wouldn't really do anything to him. Hearing the order, the 2 disciples hurriedly carried Yang Yi away for treatment. However, Li Changsheng raised his ardent dragon spear and thrust it forward. A golden light struck Yang Yi's body. Bang! In the midst of the explosion, a deep pit was formed where Yang Yi was standing. Yang Yi's body exploded into a mist of blood. The 2 disciples who were walking towards Yang Yi stiffened. Taoist Master Zishan's face also turned ugly. He used the devil-suppressing sword to take my life, then he deserves to die. Taoist Master Zishan, I know you love your disciple dearly, but this is my principle. After saying that, Li Changsheng turned around and walked towards the wooden house in the valley. Taoist Master Zishan took a deep breath and waved her hand. Her entire person became dispirited. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.